Now we're recording. So.
And thus the anxiety sets in.
Oh no.
Everything's completely fine. Have some faith in me. So, you four have been wandering souls in your own right for at least a good portion of your lives. Maybe you've seen a darker side of the world, maybe the lighter side. Maybe you've seen more in a shorter time, less in a longer, but it evens out between the four of you. For the past year, however, you have been getting requests from the same source. The Queen of Eladina, Queen Elera Eleroy. Individually, you've been getting these jobs from her and her council to take up at their behest since they themselves can't do it, compensated accordingly based on the difficulty of the job and how long it was assumed to get the job done. The last job, however, was the toughest one yet, and it was the first one that the four of you have been working on together. The Queen had made the mistake of jumping to the conclusion that all of you would work together well without any prior interaction, and sent the four of you to an abandoned Dragon's Keep where there had been rumors of dangerous activity happening. What she hadn't accounted for was the fact that her chosen adventurers had no clue how to work together all that well. Thankfully, before anything could get truly out of hand, you were saved by a ranger who seemingly came out of nowhere to get the four of you to safety. She did not introduce herself to any of you and preferred to keep it that way, somehow already knowing why you were there. Much to your chagrin, the guided exit strategy was rife with less than pleasant comments about your incompetence in the situation. After being taken back to the royal castle with your first huge failure in tow, you were greeted by the Queen apologizing for sending you out to do something that you could not handle. Despite your own varying levels of embarrassment for letting your employer down, every single one of you could feel the tension in the room from the moment the Queen noticed your savior. After a good 15 minutes, all of you were invited to come to a banquet hosted by her and her husband now that he has returned from his diplomatic excursion in another region. So that's where you've ended up right now. Dressed in the appropriate, recognized hero attire of the royal family, you're in the banquet hall surrounded by dozens upon dozens of other people, making up the higher class and various bodyguards and a number of waiters and waitresses. There's a few buffet tables that people wander towards and away from, with a couple of bars where people mingle and laugh, as well as a place to walk out where people have notably gone out to for some reason or another. But for the most part, there is just people wandering around congratulating you in wherever you happen to be for essentially not dying. And they give weird looks towards someone who happened to arrive a little bit later, dressed in colors that don't quite match up to the green, gold, and red. So that's where you are. What do you do now?
I can't hear anything.
I think first off, should we introduce ourselves to each other?
It depends on where you guys all are. If you're all near each other, that's where you guys can say you're at, but that depends on where you guys are.
Question, this is the Queen of which kingdom?
The what?
The audio keeps cutting out for me.
I asked, this is the kingdom of which?
This is a relatively diverse kingdom, but the queen herself is Elera Eleroy.
So she's an elf?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just, I guess I'm hanging out with my buddies.
All right, to give you a sort of idea of where I guess all of you seem to be starting, here's a description of the area. It's a large foyer-type area leading towards an open ballroom where easily a couple hundred wealthy or influential people are gathered and talking in small groups. Directly across from that entrance, like staircases leading upwards towards different wings, is a currently closed door and two guards guarding the staircases upward. They're decorated in various clothing and assorted armaments. They don't look as if they're really here to protect so much as be there. It's relatively refined for a castle, but it seems to be less elegant than what you would typically see for a gathering of this assortment. If you guys are all in that starting area, then you're welcome to interact with one another.
Well, I'd say I've seen way more exotic palaces than this.
I don't know. I'm kind of thankful it's not too stuck up, so to say.
I will be keeping to the outskirts. Give me time.
Okay. Nini, roll stealth.
Okay. Well, this starts out wonderfully. That's a 2. So with the modifier of 11.
Oh, that's a start. We're starting off wonderfully. Okay. Lithera, you walk in and immediately everybody seems to know that you're there. Not only because you're not wearing the colors of the kingdom, but also because people know who you are. So you try to keep to the sides, but ultimately people are aware of your existence and try to either keep a respectful distance from you, or they are not even caring that you know that they can see them.
Ah, joy, the pageantry.
The others can also see you. The ones that you saved, decorated in the colors of the kingdom. The others of you, by the way, are welcome to do as you will with that information.
Oh, yes, you can now.
Yay! That's good.
So she's the ranger that saved us in the mission?
Yes.
Is that? Natali will approach. Hello, are you the one that rescued us before?
Yes, and did you enjoy having so much trouble upon you?
No, I can't say we did, but we're quite thankful.
Joy, perhaps one of you isn't as stupid as I thought.
Thank you?
Lithera, at that comment, you get a couple of wary eyes towards you that quickly look away.
Well, I come trotting up behind, and I'm like, oh, now, don't be giving him that big of a hard time, you know. She's just, new to a place like this.
New to places and apparently new to dungeon crawling. Have you both lost your mind?
From nearby at a bar-like area where not very many people are sitting, it's more of a place to rest your legs if you're standing too often. There's a leather-clad male, looks about in his 20s, clearly armed and still has some of the colors. Didn't care to dress up. He looks at you, Lithera, and says, "They are. I'm not."
Things to be seen.
Lithera, roll perception. All of you can roll perception if you want.
Okay.
16.
That is a 9.
Starting off great, Nessie.
I know.
This is going to be fun.
I get a 5.
I think I got
Oh
a
my
10.
god.
Wow.
Son of a... You guys, your passive perception is better than this.
Yeah, that's what you use instead.
Okay. I'm just gonna go with passive perception just to help you guys out and help you along.
Get it?
Legally, I don't know how this is happening.
It's called the dice hate us.
Right now, yeah.
Roll
Yeah.
2.
Okay. You guys all know who this is. He was with you when you were saved, but notably he was handling himself better, so his word checks out. He does know what he's doing more than the rest of you. However, he is visibly armed. He has 2 small guns attached to a holster at his waist, and he has striking blue eyes. He doesn't
Wait. Can I please roll just to see if I was holding my own at least?
Oh no, all of you really sucked. That's a flatline thing. All of you really sucked. He just managed to take less damage, so to speak.
Well, then. Well, I guess I have to introduce myself. I'm Niminue the Beast.
You hear a scoff from the man in question. I'm Cole. Pleasure to meet you.
And I am Natali. Thanks again.
The name is Lithera.
Lithera. You just hear another laugh.
I'm Raiann. Or Raiann. I didn't think about how to pronounce that.
It'd be Raiann in terms of Dragonborns.
Cool, thanks.
Actually, everyone except Nini, roll history.
There we go.
Except who?
History.
22.
Except Nini.
Well, I rolled a 1.
22.
I'm so distressed.
Wow.
What was your...
I get an 11.
Okay, let me roll for Cole. What was his stats? I just had them. Let's just roll a flat one. Nope. All right. Nope. Natali, you know the name Lithera. She used to be a adventurer in the world, a relatively well-known group. Actually, Nini, you explain. That's a 22. Nope. I'm not going to be coy. You have it.
All right. I apparently have the floor. Those of you with 1s, you don't know shit who this is. I'm sorry.
Okay.
11 would probably have a name that she is relatively well known. Natali, however.
Natali, you know that Lithera used to travel with a group. In fact, they were based out of Red Larch.
All right.
They
Anything else?
did very well. However, Lithera herself, along with her fellows, ran afoul of the deck of many things. So, despite getting very far and indeed being part of a group of heroes, Lithera mysteriously vanished off the face of the earth.
About 100 years ago.
What does Nimue know?
She would know that Lithera had a group before and that people know of her, but not anything deep. Not like Red Larch deep.
So 100 years ago, you said?
Yeah, it's been 100 years.
It was thought
Well,
to be dead.
your group must have been very old. It's been 100 years.
Yes, is there any relation to a certain hero from 100 years ago? That I know it seems unlikely, but just wondering.
If you're wondering if my last name is Kieran Odell, then yes.
How? How? You don't mind me asking?
That is not for you to know.
All right.
Question. Can I tell if she is an elf or not?
I mean, it's a racial feature to have pointed ears. Otherwise, yeah.
Orcs have pointed ears too. So do gnomes.
Oh well, okay. I guessed it there. I mean, yeah, you can pretty much tell who everybody is and where they originate from. Dragonborn's pretty easy to tell. Elves are pretty easy to tell.
I put a picture up if you'd like.
Well, it's not really all that hard to believe that she's been alive that long. After all, she is an elf.
Oh, yes, that makes sense.
You guys can explore if you want. You don't have to talk to one another constantly. It is a castle.
Well, I think I'm gonna go see how well trained these royal guards are, just to see how they handle up to dwarven beasts. And with that, I make my way off to the royal.
All right. Okay, so there are. This is going great.
Was that you didn't want to have happen?
No, I said it. I offered it. It's my doing.
Yes, you did.
Did.
So there are 2 guards stationed in front of the wings. The staircases lead up to the east and west wings. And you see other guards stationed in the ballroom area and towards the end of the large hallway down towards a closed room. But there are a couple others stationed around, not really formal like the rest of them, just seems casual, wandering. Do you approach one of the formal ones or one of the wandering ones?
I approach one of the wandering ones.
Okay. So you walk up to a lightly has scale mail on and has the colors of the kingdom hanging at his waist and around like a sash. Looks more like a dignitary than an actual knight, but the sword at his waist says otherwise.
Well, hello there. You look like a fine fellow who might be able to show me a bit of sport. You are a royal guard, are you?
He addresses you somewhat hesitantly, as if he's not sure if he's allowed to talk to you, and then says, "Yes, is there something I can help you with?"
Yes. Since I know how it goes being a royal guard and all, I just want to, have a friendly contest of skills, see how my training goes up against yours. Shall we go and, drink, see who can outlast the other with some dwarven ale?
Make a persuasion roll.
Okay. Keep in mind my persuasion's +7, Mark.
Roll high.
19 plus 7.
Oh.
All right. He looks hesitant at first, but after addressing the other guards, who seem to give a bit of a shrug in response, like they don't really know how to respond, he looks back down at you and says, "Sure, why not? I'm sure we have some over in the other room."
Good. You lead on. You lead on. Let us see who outlasts the.
Indeed. After you.
I insist after you, since, this is your place rather than mine. I do not know where you keep your dwarven.
Niminue, you actually do see the bar that Cole is sitting at.
Okay, I lead the way.
So you both take a seat, and Cole looks at you kind of with a slightly judgmental look, like this isn't the right time to be doing this, but ultimately ignores you. Do any of you want to do something else or wander before we continue the rest of this?
Going to scan the crowd, see if I notice any of the dignitaries or even know any of them.
I believe that would be perception.
Yes, that would be perception.
Money.
Or would that be a combination of perception and his?
So, well, perception here is more for recognition than anything. You notice that a couple of people resemble people you've seen in your past, but they're not quite the same. Probably after learning from Natali that it's been roughly 100 years since you disappeared. They're probably the children or great-grandchildren of people that you used to know, but ultimately you don't see anyone familiar to you.
Are there any servants walking around like with drinks on trays?
There are a couple.
Oh, good. I'm going to snatch a drink off of a tray.
You snatch a drink off of one of the trays that the waiters are carrying around, and the half-elven man looks at you with a bit of a start, like he forgot you were there to begin with, busy working, no doubt, and then just smiles at you and does a half bow and keeps walking.
I'll nod back at him and then tip back some of the drink.
It's a bit fruity. It's probably not meant to get people inherently drunk so much as it is just to have a conversation starter. Not strong enough to do anything to you.
Oh, good.
Anybody else want to do something before I get back to Niminue?
I grab one of the fruity drinks too.
You get a bit of a weird look because as a Dragonborn, you stand out here, especially as a cleric. There's not many Dragonborn clerics around. But
Yeah.
it tastes a little less fruity to you. It's not to your taste, so pretty much it just tastes like another drink to you.
Disappointing.
With the people she even barely knows.
You can make a perception check.
You're out awkwardly. Okay. 21.
You do notice a couple of people from the towns that you've been helping out with their crops and whatnot, like the governors and the kings of sovereign states. But they don't seem to actively recognize you, probably because they didn't quite keep your visage in mind. But you do recognize them, specifically one of the smaller farming countries, the governor of which you remember the name being Marcus. He is talking to a couple of other ladies and definitely charming them.
That's not any more reason not to just stand around awkwardly, okay.
Welcome to the Awkward Club.
Yep.
Before we get to that, Niminue, roll a Constitution saving throw.
Okay. 15 plus 5 equals Do I pass?
Plus what?
20.
Okay.
I rolled a 15 and I've got a mod of +5 for my cons.
Well, it doesn't even fucking matter because I rolled a 6. Okay.
Pick the...
To your eyes, it seems as if you picked quite the wrong person to try and grab a drink with. You find that the hesitation in actually getting a drink with this particular person wasn't the fact that he didn't know what to do, but rather he knows he's a lightweight and you are not. He seems a bit sloshed from one full mug.
Lithera just
I raise my eyebrow, give a puzzled smile, slap him on the back, and go, "Well, I guess I kind of picked the wrong one for this, but just keep on training. It'll get better."
He doesn't seem to have the words proper to respond to you, but he nods half-heartedly.
Well, if, you're not going to finish that mug, I'll just... No need to let good word of the nail go to waste.
Why am I doing this again?
Lithera, while they're all distracted, you and Raiann see Cole stand up and leave the room to the left.
Oh joy, a crafty one.
Do you follow?
No, not at the moment.
What about you, Raiann? Do you follow?
Oh, yeah, I follow. Sorry, the mic keeps cutting out again.
Sorry.
Raiann is a little less abrasive, so Natali will follow her.
Okay. Both of you roll stealth. You're a Dragonborn. Remember, it's going to be a little bit tougher for you.
Well, I rolled a 5.
I rolled a 12.
I have a +1, so that's 6.
That doesn't help.
Yeah.
I love you, but no.
Okay.
Probably because of Raiann standing out so much. You, Natali, are able to get by relatively undetected. Other people stop Raiann to ask about how things went and if she's alright.
Raiann kind of rolls her eyes and dodges the questions.
Yeah, but you're still held up. Natali, you see Cole enter a rather well-kept kitchen where a few people mill about away from the noise, though still talking amongst each other. The middle of the room has a bunch of platters full of snack foods, clearly just meant to pick at. It just seems like a normal area. Cole is standing off to the side, just looking bored with the situation.
Alright, sure, Natali will get some snacks from the area, just appreciate that's a bit quieter, at least. And let's just wait for Raiann to catch up.
The ones that you pick up, the snacks, they're finger food type things. You can pick them up with little toothpicks and bits of chicken with spices on them. It is good.
Alright, Natali eats a few.
Cole is just going to stare with raised eyebrows at you, Natali, as he is still holding what looks like a martini glass.
Natali looks confusedly back. Not really getting what he's meaning by that.
He stares for a bit and then rolls his eyes and stands up straight instead of leaning. So, Natali, was it?
Yes. And Cole
Yeah.
was.
Call me whatever you want. Why were you in this business? Why were you called by Her Highness?
Well, as for why I accepted the job, call it convenience, I suppose. It allowed me to travel and do as I please while being able to sustain that kind of life.
So you're in it for the
As
curiosity.
yes, you could say that, yes.
All right.
And you?
That's for me to know.
Oh, all right.
He just snickers at you for some reason.
And then the awkward silence ensued.
Actually, after about a minute of silence caused by either his own attitude or just by lack of conversation, he decides to leave the room again, trying to head out the doorway leading outside. Raiann, by this time, you have gotten away from all of the people in question who were trying to check up on you, as you are one of the heroes, and you saw Cole walk out the other direction.
Okay, I try to sneak after Cole, or not sneak, but I try to follow Cole. I'm just trying to figure out what's happening right now.
Lithera is just having a good old time by herself.
Speaking of, can I look and find out if there's
Any what?
unimportant, any like dignitaries or whatnot that look a little bit different?
I think this would tie in with you knowing pretty much nobody there, so go ahead and roll perception instead of history.
$24.
24? You see a couple of people that seem to not want to go into the ballroom area where you vividly notice ahead of you are more dignitaries, but in this current area there are about 3 different dignitaries. One of them is a rather tall human female, about mid-30s, you'd guess, but she carries herself in a much more vibrant manner. She's got the attention of a few hapless individuals that are carrying on to every word. The other 2 are talking to themselves, 2 elven males. They seem to come from the same area, and they seem to be discussing quietly about something.
Do I know what kind of elves they are, like sun or moon, or?
They seem to come from the Sun Elven heritage. One of them is notably more scarred than the other.
I see if I can hear what they're talking about.
Roll stealth.
Nat 20.
Yeah, here's the thing. I am pretty sure you have disadvantage considering what you're wearing.
Okay. $21 for my low roll.
Okay. All right. You somehow manage to shake off most of the glances spared you away, whether that is through glaring at them and making them not want to look at you anymore, or simply by somehow blending in with the crowd around you. You get into within range of what the two elven dignitaries, and you hear one of them tell the more scarred individual, "I don't think this is a good idea. We have things we need to be doing. We shouldn't be attending a celebration for foolish heroes that got themselves into something they couldn't handle." And the scarred individual shakes his head kind of dismissively and says, "They're new at this. Give them some time, and I promise you'll favor them as much as I do." They don't seem to be talking about anything more interesting than the rest of the people in the room, however. The one that has less scars, however, doesn't seem to really want to be here any more than you do.
By listening in on the lady.
Okay, I'm just going to use the same roll because that seems to be your luck. She seems to be telling a story from where she hails from, and you do see that there's a crest on her outfit, but currently you're a bit in the wrong area to see it since you're still near the two elves. She seems really excited, and more people are looking towards her than towards you. She's bringing up something of a tale of a carnival type thing, something that she was doing with her husband, going about the carnival and seeing different sights. Are you going to get closer, or?
A little bit closer, but not too much.
As you inch closer, trying to keep yourself out of her field of vision, roll perception.
That would be a 27.
Jesus fucking Christ. Okay. You see that she has a relatively decent sized group. She seems to be a very good storyteller. She knows exactly how to say things in the right tone and how to talk to people, but she is not very aware of her situation. She seems to be enjoying the party more than the people who the party is dedicated to. So she has the general attitude of someone who loves attention, to someone who wants people to look at her. She is in fact talking about a carnival that showed up in her kingdom. A kingdom across the sea. She came over just to see the heroes, of which she is a bit disappointed. You hear in her voice that she's a bit disappointed she has not met the heroes properly yet, because she came here early and the heroes may or may not have been a couple minutes late, fashionably. She doesn't seem to really have anything interesting input aside from where she's from, which you can roll to see if you know.
Love to.
Roll history.
20.
Okay. All right.
My dice like me.
Yeah, I've noticed. You recognize the crest on her outfit. It is, in fact, a mostly human kingdom across the sea, but they're relatively open to people outside. It is the Kingdom of Stars. They live relatively in close proximity to the Star Elves, which they have constant contact with. It's an abnormal relationship that they have. but it is something that is working, and it allows Star Elves to learn about the outside world without leaving the domain that they like to inhabit. And these humans in particular, though flashy, mean well. And the person that is here currently is, in fact, the, I suppose, assistant to the queen and king, and her name is Alexandria. She doesn't seem really to have any idea that this is something of a more modest event instead of carnival-like. She just loves the attention. In a way, you would assume that she's trying to make the atmosphere a bit more lively and a lot less tense. And it's not exactly working.
Dreamers.
Raiann and Natali, roll stealth.
All right. Let's see how well I can stealth next to the finger food. Not doing much.
Okay,
Yeah,
4.
That's what I expected. A 3.
Oh my god.
Okay.
The second roll was a 1.
Oh my god.
I need to send you both my dice. My gosh.
Oh my god. Okay. I don't even feel like I need to roll for this. But I'm going to, just in case I get a 1, which is very possible.
If I need a reason for why it was so easy to spot, yeah, Natali had summoned Russet, her weasel, Fey Weasel familiar at this point, and was feeding it the finger food. Which is hard not to notice.
Yeah, that might be a little obvious.
Okay. People are definitely starting to notice that you're finally here because, as I told Nini, you guys were a bit late. Whether that because you were trying to get prepared or you weren't sure how to wear the colors that you were given. You guys are a bit late. So people are just starting to notice that you're here, and you're starting to get uncomfortable with the amount of staring and gossiping that is most certainly happening as a result. Cole has completely disappeared into the crowd.
Do I still keep my stealth?
Your what?
My stealth that I did.
You can roll again.
That's sneaky sneak. Okay, hang on.
Let's see if the one wearing the wrong colors is easier to spot.
In comparison, I misspoke earlier. I misspoke earlier about the colors. It is actually gold, red, and black, not green. So, and Lithera is wearing black and silver.
Oh, yeah, bright green. Ah.
Lithera is wearing silver and black, and I believe it's darkish green. Not the right color.
That would be a 20.
Somehow, unlike everybody else, you are completely and still hidden within the crowd. You're unsure if this is because people don't want to actively acknowledge you exist right now, or it's because you're actually good at hiding.
Pretty sure it's a little bit of both.
It might be.
The way it's...
Both is good.
Roll perception for me, Nini.
That's a 15. That would be 15.
I got a nat 20. You don't notice shit.
Well, all right.
Anything you guys want to do? Niminue?
Oh, okay. Well, after seeing that this poor sod is super drunk, I start in with my questioning.
Okay.
So, you know, and now that, you're loosened up a bit, tell me, anything good, interesting happened while we were out on our first?
Roll persuasion with advantage.
I get a 19 altogether.
Okay. I rolled a nat 1. I rolled a nat 1.
Fitting.
Fuck. Okay. He is absolutely gone by this point, and you figure that anything he says has to be taken with a grain of salt. But he looks around for a bit and then lowers his head towards you. I may have heard that there are a couple of people coming into town. I'm not supposed to say anything, but it is rather exciting. Some dignitaries are coming into town to address a social issue or something along those lines. But I don't think it has anything to do with the heroes. In fact, I think it's because of the old ones that didn't do their job quite right that they're doing this. And then he awkwardly looks back at where he last saw Lithera and then gets confused and looks back at Niminue. Don't tell her I said that, will you?
Oh, don't worry. You will not be found out by me. Anyways, you said something about there having been heroes before us. What happened to them?
He scoffs a little bit as if this information isn't really secret. Miss, have you been out of the loop? There have been constant heroes, but they've all kind of been off kilter. They've not. I guess you would say they lacked the competence to be heroes, or they've turned criminal at some point. Things just aren't going our way currently. I think your savior's arrival has only made things a bit worse.
Well, okay. Well, thank you. I think I need to go give my regards to the Queen. But do you know if that half-dragon mercenary company I was with before I went with this group? Do you know if they're hanging about?
Not that I recall. I'm not a outpost guard, however. I stay in the castle, so I wouldn't know much. Sorry.
It's alright. Now you stay here and work on finishing that lovely dwarf.
You actually see that his mug is still roughly half full, and he doesn't seem to want to touch it anymore.
I say, well, you'll feel a lot better if you finish downing that drink all in one go.
Roll persuasion.
Oh boy.
Roll persuasion.
17 plus 7.
Oh my gosh.
Uh-oh, you gave him an alcohol poisoning.
Fuck. Okay, alright. No, this is great.
Bye, guard.
No, this is great. This is a wonderful way to start this off.
Peer pressure.
He, because of how intoxicated he is, he doesn't really have the wherewithal to question that line of logic, and he seems relieved at the advice because he wasn't feeling that great to begin with, and he picks it up and decidedly downs the rest of the mug.
Oh no.
After a few moments, he seems to be faring only slightly better, but only for a moment until he goes a bit wide-eyed and proceeds to roll a nat 1.
No.
Please tell me Lithera sees this.
All right.
I'm just grinning delightedly, expectantly. Yeah.
Oh no.
No, there, see?
That was a Constitution save. I want you to understand that.
Oh no.
He tries to stand up to leave the area so he doesn't embarrass himself, but after one step away from the bar, his legs give out on him.
I immediately try and catch him as he...
I don't think that's a good idea, but roll a strength. There's a strength modifier. I don't think this would help much, considering you are a gnome. But what did you get?
I get an 18.
Here's the thing. He is a relatively well-built person.
And I'm a barbarian.
Yeah, you're also a gnome. He is 6 foot, very built, and has quite some armor on.
So basically he falls on top of it.
There's a reason my character is called the Beast.
Yeah, I get this. However, you try and catch him before he completely topples over, but as a result of both his inertia and complete dead weight at this point, because he can't keep himself upright, you instead go down with him. He kind of lands haphazardly on you, and then he apologizes and tries to get off of you, and he manages to do so with very little reprieve to actually stand up, which causes a bit of a commotion, enough actually for the group Lithera was standing near to stop their talking and gossiping and look over towards the bar, where there is a knight and a barbarian collapsed on the ground.
At this point, I'm like trying my best to push him off of me.
No, he's off of you, but he's trying to stand up.
I stand up and try and help him to stand.
Roll strength.
Ooh, a nat 20.
Ooh, juicy.
Can't small your way out of this?
Raiann and Natali, you hear the clattering of something falling, but you're in a different room and you don't see what actually happens currently. You're welcome to move out if you want to do that.
Yeah, that sounds concerning.
I follow the commotion in case I worry that someone's dead, so in need of healing.
That's a fair point. You both see one of your companions pick up a rather drunken-looking knight, and he manages to keep his steady, but he doesn't try and take another step. Everyone else is kind of gossiping about a knight drinking on duty. And
well, he wasn't on duty.
You don't know that.
You do.
I said he was wandering.
You
Not that he
said
wasn't on
he looked
duty.
like he was dressed like he was off duty.
No, I said he looked like he was wandering and less formal. Not that he was off duty.
Okay.
I did make sure to choose my words wisely because I know you guys are going to try and do that to me. But another one of the guards, the one that was guarding the west wing, comes over and picks him up and gestures towards another knight to take his position. And one of them moves off to the side to take his position while he gets his fellow knight off somewhere else to relax a little bit. He goes to the right of your current area. And Niminue, you have a crowd staring at you.
I clap my hands and, well, wasn't that just about? Anyone else want to try and, make this fun and have a drinking contest?
Are there any windows in the room?
No.
Damn it.
No self-defenestration.
Wasn't thinking of it. Lithera looks up at the ceiling and it just goes, why this?
Sarah, you feel the shawl you're wearing actually gives off a feeling of sheepishness. Lithera, actually everyone's in the same room. All of you roll a perception check.
All right.
Nat 1.
There goes my dice. Come back.
Just a straight up 10.
I get a nat 1. Yippee-ki-yay.
Passive 14.
Niminue, this is a wonderful
5.
castle.
Thank you.
It looks very nice. It's very fancy. You should have visited more often. So what was the other rolls?
23.
23, 10.
I got 5.
You're just going to keep staring at Niminue like she's lost her mind.
Okay.
Let's see. What was yours again, Nini?
23.
Once again, you notice nothing. Everything's fine.
Gosh.
I rolled a nat 20. I can't do anything about that.
Again,
Oh, yeah,
no.
that explains that.
Anything else you want to do?
So, anyone take me up? Did anyone take me up on the drinking?
Roll charisma.
Straight charisma or persuasion?
Charisma. This is what you're not persuading anybody. You're trying to drive them to do something. You're trying to charm them, not persuade them.
I get a 16 altogether.
A stout dwarven male who's clearly seen a couple of drinking contests and bar brawls steps up to you and says, "All right, lass, why don't we see how much you can handle from one of the best?"
Question. Is this dwarf one who lives here, or has he been to the Dwarven Kingdom?
You can roll history. Or you can ask. You can do either.
I'll say, hey there. Hey there, buddy. My name's Niminue the Beast. How are you? Have you been to the Dwarven Kingdom recently?
The kingdom? Of course I have. Why wouldn't I? It's where I'm from. I just have business out here.
Ooh, then you know the third prince.
Aye.
Ooh, have we met before?
You need to roll charisma. This is just in general to see how well they all knew you.
A nat 20 plus 3.
What the fuck? Okay. Alright. Okay.
You have players with lucky dice.
This is going to be a problem.
This is going to be beautiful.
After a few moments of looking you over, he gets an instant light bulb moment. And he's like, yes, you're the adoptive kin of the Third Prince. Right. I've heard about you. I'm Kusatia.
This is gonna be a fun drinking game. Come on, bartender, bring on the dwarven beer.
He sits down at the bar with you, completely unfazed by the thing that just happened, mostly because he's seen it before. And he gives you a look of absolute daring to go full throttle. Actually, I want you to roll history.
History?
Mm-hmm.
18.
You recognize this dwarf. His name is Kusatir Dorakur. He is a very wealthy and influential blacksmith from the kingdom who often gets commissioned by those of other races to help out with armor and different types of weapons that may not be exactly tested. He's more of the sort of blacksmith that you would go to if you want to try something new to see if it works. So he's very heavily paid and compensated quite nicely whenever something works out in his favor. But he's very famous within the kingdom and outside of it.
How good of a drinker he is.
No, because you've never drank with him.
Okay. Let's get this drinking on the list.
He doesn't have a reputation she would know about?
Okay. Fair enough. It's a good point. You do know that he used to go out drinking with his buddies, mostly other blacksmiths and those who could handle him, the ones who could handle him of the arcane sort would be around him. He is able to hold quite his liquor. He's quite the challenge for you.
Oh no, I shouldn't have said anything.
This is gonna be fun.
So, roll a Constitution saving throw.
I get a 17.
I rolled a 18. So,
do we pass the initial standing for not getting drunk?
You both are tipsy, but in terms of holding yourself together, he is slightly better than you right now. He seems to be making quite the good conversation with someone else who has addressed him off to the side a little bit. He doesn't seem all that affected, as probably being tipsy during these events is normal for him. And then he looks back at you and says, "Are you sure you can stand your weight?"
Oh, I'm just getting started, boy.
Roll again.
A nat 20.
I rolled a 15. He doesn't seem to be in the greatest conditions after a couple more drinks. You, however, you're doing fucking phenomenal. You couldn't feel better. He sways a little bit and then...
Swaying a little bit there, boy. You sure you can continue?
I concede. I see I'm a bit outmatched right now. I'm not in my wits. You're quite the strange one, lass.
I was raised by the best.
Indeed you were, if you're anything like the one who raised you. and he pushes away his now empty mug, does a motion like of tipping one's hat or giving respect to another individual, and then hops down off of the stool and walks over to the human woman who was telling a story earlier and starts talking with her.
I hop off the stool and head towards the closest member of my group.
That would actually be Raiann and Natali. Lithera's on the opposite side of the room. It's a huge room. It's radius-wise, it's about 60 to 90 feet. Say about 75. Huge room. They're about 25 feet away from you. Lithera is about 60.
I'm going to scan the crowd again, see what I can notice.
All right.
$19 for perception.
Okay, this is my luck. Lithera, you see Cole skittering along the sides away from the crowd. And he has now just exited to the right.
I get the feeling this fellow was up to no good.
Otherwise, everything looks fine. Just your typical gathering. Actually, let me see. As you notice, Cole, a couple of other people also seem to catch wind that he's acting a little funny, but because he's a hero, they kind of awkwardly brush it off and get back to their conversation.
Lithera just rolls her eyes and goes, nothing's changed.
Any of the others want to do something? Because after a bit here in the room, they're probably...
You said Natali and Raiann were the two closest to me, right?
Raiann, yes.
Okay. I go up to them and go, hey, Raiann, Natali, that lovely little lightweight to the guard that I drank with the first time gave me some interesting little tidbits. Would you like to hear them?
Sure. Is he okay?
Yeah, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. He just needs Flynn to drink.
I'm seriously considering challenging you to a drinking game, but...
Well. Anyways, apparently, and I whisper to them, that there's supposed to be, there's supposed to be some interesting dignitaries coming here.
All the more reason to be drunk.
To the both of you, Natali and Raiann, you kind of get the feeling that this information is redundant because you're more or less surrounded by important dignitaries.
Yeah.
I didn't say important. I said interesting.
To people who aren't around dignitaries often, any dignitary, important or otherwise, is interesting.
Yes, I see a few around. What? Are there supposed to be others?
No, you don't get it. He said they were supposed to be very high up there, interesting dignitaries. For some reason, he didn't want me telling Lithera yet. And on another note, apparently, the heroes that have been coming before us, most of them have been turning to crime.
I hope we didn't disappoint them too badly with that last mission then.
Yes, well, the question is, why are these heroes turning to crime?
That is odd.
Natali, Raiann, and Niminue, you all see like a couple of people looking your way because it's a bit strange to see this group of individuals, even if you are heroes, talking amongst each other so quietly. It makes you seem suspicious. You're very bad at being sneaky.
Yeah, I'd assume the glowing fey weasel on Natalie's shoulder again isn't helping that. It's not exactly inconspicuous.
So whispering while being that conspicuous is not helping your matter any.
Wonderful, glowing personality, just whispering away. Yeah, that works.
Is there any more subtle area we can move to?
There's an area to the left that you haven't explored.
Let's go.
Are the three of you walking through? Or are you just going to watch them walk away?
I think I need to follow Cole.
You roll stealth. The other three, you walk to the left to, actually, the right. I'm stupid. You walk to the right. It's an area for people to sit down underneath a hanging structure with several small colored fires and equally small lanterns arranged in a diamond pattern from the ceiling. The couches look comfortable, but many of them are taken up by small groups of people gossiping and bringing up various topics for people to jump in on if they know anything. There's an area near what looks to be a fireplace that is currently unoccupied, and there are not a lot of people around that area.
I got an 11. Have fun with that.
You have trouble keeping up with him for some reason, whether that's because there's so many people around or simply because he's faster than you gave him credit for. He slips away from you and you don't know where he went.
Those seats by the fireplace look like they could be nice.
Raiann nods and takes a seat.
All right, so the three of you sit down and presumably you discuss over what Niminue just told you, which doesn't make sense to the other two of you because you're relatively new to the whole dignitary thing. So every dignitary is interesting and important to you. But it seems there's something off about this particular set that she's referring to.
So what sets them apart from the ones that are already here?
I don't know. The fool kinda passed out a little before, he fell and crushed me before I could get more than that out of him. He was kind of slow.
Oh, are you all right?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
Roll perception, Natali and Raiann.
I've got a 4. That's with it.
I've got a nat 20, so a 24.
Okay.
Excellent. Raiann, everything's fine. Doesn't look anything out of ordinary. You, Natali, however, you kind of have to take Niminue's words at somewhat of a disadvantage because she does look quite intoxicated. Not drunk, but definitely a little over tipsy. she's had a few drinks of dwarven ale, along with what accounts to a drinking contest. Things that she say might not exactly pan out, as far as you're concerned. However, you do notice that the one of the lights from the diamond-patterned hanging lights swayed for a second.
Raiann,
You
can go, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was going to say, you seem to have drinking a lot back there.
Oh, don't worry about it. I'm used to it. I was raised up by dwarves.
I suppose that's impressive then. I mean, out drinking 2 people in a row.
Nini, roll another stealth check for me.
Wait, who?
Nini.
Okay.
Is Nini's not dead? You guys need to continue the conversation until Nini gives me back the result.
Well, anyway, I think it's at least worth checking into why heroes seem to be going.
I wasn't quite sure I caught that. Could you repeat that?
Well, I think it's at least worth looking into seeing why so many supposed heroes are turning to crime.
Yes, that's definitely not a trend that seems very beneficial.
You 3 will roll history.
$11.
12.
15.
Ah, there we go.
Did you hear my request, Nini?
I rolled a 19.
We'll get back to that. You 3, however, you aren't really in tune with the whole widespread news thing. You were wrapped up in your own business from the Queen. However, Niminue, you actually have heard of off and on some people who used to be heroes of a kingdom that went bad, so to speak. Not so much as they were possessed or taken over or persuaded. They just, according to every source that was mentioned, they just stopped being good. They just decided to go towards a life of criminal activity. You have no idea why, however, or what kingdom they were from, or who they were trying to work for initially, but you do know of a couple of roving bands of now bandits that were once heroes.
Wait, what was that last part?
You do, in fact, know of a few roving bands of bandits that were either apprehended or left to the wind, that were once heroes of a kingdom. You just don't remember what kingdom that specifically was, or if that was even related to what was just told to you.
Well, there have been others to go rogue before, but I would still rather feel more comfortable if we knew the reason why.
Yes. Do you suppose there might have been...
Because it is not too common for so many heroes to go rogue in succession.
Right. Do you suppose there might have been a reason for it? Like,
That is what I think we ought to look into, because it may be something, that might affect.
yes, I would think there has to be a need for them to do that, or some sort of coercion, maybe?
They could have had a reason.
Like I said, that is why I want to find out the reason.
I've always suspected corruption.
All right, Nini. With that roll, you have found Cole again, and he is outside. He is outside in afternoon, evening attitude right now. It's about you'd gander 4 or 5 in the afternoon. He's alone out here, and he seems to be working on getting a specific stonework out of its position.
That's not suspicious at all.
I approach him.
Roll stealth.
26.
He does not notice you approach, but as soon as you get close enough to cast a shadow against where he's working, he doesn't so much jump as he suddenly looks up towards you, and then calms down and is like, "What do you want?"
I'm wondering what you're doing.
He looks down at what he's doing, and he has one of his daggers stuck against the stonework, and has what looks like part of the stonework undone. And he pauses for a second, and then looks back up at you. Why should I tell you?
Let's just say it's part of my job to know what you're doing.
No one asked you to keep an eye on me.
Actually, someone did. Now, would you tell me?
He kind of snorted at your commentary of someone did, and then returned to just getting it out. He doesn't seem to believe you. Would you go elsewhere? I'm in the middle of something. You're going to draw attention to me.
I think that's half the point at this point.
He finally stops after a few more moments and leans back, kind of in that way of someone who's deliberately trying to hide something, if you know that sort of person. But to most normal people, it would just look like he's taking a seat against the wall. And then he looks up at you and just laughs for a second. You're an odd one. Why did you even come to help us out? What's in it for you?
Let's just say a new lot on life, shall we?
Right. Isn't it always like that?
Depends on your perception.
Of course it is. Lithera, was it?
Yes.
So how'd the last little group you were with turn out, by the way?
I wouldn't know. I was left behind.
That's rough. He doesn't really seem all that caring towards what he's saying. He's clearly trying to get you to leave.
So are you going to tell me, or do I have to ask someone?
Roll persuasion.
I hope you understand I just got a 4.
That'll only be good enough if I roll a nat 1. I have to find the appropriate thing.
My persuasion sucks.
He just grins at you. Go ahead, call someone. They're the ones that don't trust you, not us. They'll call you the liar sooner than they'll ever call me the liar.
This I'm expecting, but I never said I was going to ask them, now did I?
He just rolls his eyes. To give you a screen cap, I got a 19 naturally, plus 6.
Ooh.
You weren't getting anything.
Lithera checks the shadows nearby.
Go ahead and roll.
That was a nat 20, so that's a 28 all in all.
All right. The shadows around seem amused. Yeah. They find this excursion a bit interesting, and once the shadows realize that you're looking, you get the feeling that what he's doing isn't necessarily bad, it just wouldn't be received well. In a way of speaking, good intentions lead somewhere he doesn't want to be.
Lithera looks back down at him. Enjoy your laugh, but be careful where you put it. And walks off.
All right. The other 3. Let's see. Do you guys want to skip ahead a little bit?
Sure.
I'm asking you if there's anything else that you would like to try to do before we skip ahead.
I would like to try and find the king and queen of this.
We'll get there.
Okay.
Anything?
Yeah, I think maybe I'm going to look for her so I can tell her what the guard didn't want me to tell her.
Is Lithera still being stealthy?
She doesn't want to talk to people, so yes.
You roll stealth, and Niminue, you roll investigation because you know who you're looking for.
I'm not hard to beat right now.
What was your investigation roll?
It's written. Check your type.
Sorry about that. I was looking away.
Okay.
Even though you really don't want to be found right now, Lithera, the barbarian of the group, does approach you in order to get your attention about something.
Oh, no.
Oh, what? Not about what?
What do you want?
Well, there was some guard I jumped under the table earlier. This boy said, there were some dignitaries coming, interesting ones, and then he begged me not to let you know that I told you. I mean, not to let you know that he told you. I thought it might be worth telling you about.
Lithera looks over the barbarian gnome, takes a moment, nods her head, actually bowing it slightly. You have my thanks.
And on another note, he did mention something odd. Do you perchance know any reason why hero after hero would be turning to crime after working for the...
Lithera, you know this is a fruitless endeavor, though the attempt is certainly welcome to try and get some insight. It's a nice endeavor that someone has a mind about them, but you've been gone way too long. You have no idea what the hell she's talking about.
I'm afraid I don't have enough information.
Well, where's that cool guy? Maybe he can help us.
He's setting up a laugh.
Oh, that would be taken well in the Dwarven King.
Yes, but this isn't the Dwarven Kingdom. I'm going to head back inside.
Okay, I'll head back to the other.
Lithera, before we move on, do you want to try and stealth into that area up ahead that is currently locked? Trying to find a different way.
That may not be taken very well at the moment, so currently no. Though I think Lithera will be keeping her ears to the ground and listening in on any conversation she can.
With that, we're going to skip ahead a little bit. The banquet was last night, and you guys don't feel any more refreshed than you were before, and none of you actually saw the king or queen, which you found was a bit odd, because it was thrown by them for you. Surely they must have shown up eventually, but you guys are there most of the time with this intention in mind of surely you would see them at some point, but they never showed up. Instead, you were told by the guards to come back early the next morning in order to meet up with them. And so that's where you are. Now you are in your normal clothes, no longer in their outfits. You have your normal clothes, no colors to adorn you, and though everybody knows who you are at this point, they address you as they would a normal person. Some give bows of respect, but ultimately you're let through into what you now recognize as the throne room, the closed-off area from the night before. It is a lavish area, though notably smaller than the rest of the castle that you've seen so far, possibly because it would allow too much legroom if someone were to try and sneak in. And there are guards lining the carpet leading up to the two thrones where when you walk in, they're talking to each other, sitting on their thrones. And I want all of you to roll an insight check.
All right. It's 9.
Nope.
15.
What was it? Should have closed it out. 18.
Everyone except Natali. Actually, I should roll for Cole because he's there too. I'm stupid. Insight +7. Yep. Everyone except Natali and Cole. You notice something's a bit off about the queen. The king looks genuinely excited and enthused to be here. The queen looks off. Raiann, you notice she looks very, very tired. But as soon as both of them notice you arrive, the four of you as well as Lithera, who certainly doesn't seem to have much intention to be here very long, they immediately perk up and assume their royal visages. They perk up, they give respect to you, and they tell the guards to give you some space. The queen addresses you all with a warm smile. I'm sorry, something just happened off screen for me.
Did you say tired? Because I couldn't really hear through
She does look extremely tired. For what reason, you're not sure.
Okay, cool.
But she and the king address you appropriately. They greet you all by your names and your titles. And the king seemingly can't keep the whole royal attitude up. He seems too excited about something that's happening. And he looks directly at Lithera and steps down and goes to greet her specifically with an outstretched hand and a wide grin. And despite his imposing stature of pulled back hair, pulled black. Oh God, I'm sorry. 1 second.
Well, then. Look, there's enough stuff for you tomorrow. Because we'll be leaving
I'm in the
early.
middle of something.
Since you never.
King seems friendly.
That's what makes me worried.
I bet he hangs around the Dwarven King.
Did you at least wash that stuff today?
What's up?
So no. I had something to wear tomorrow?
I can't hear anything. Are you guys talking or?
No.
I'm talking.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about
I
that.
heard like garbled pieces of sound there, so.
I'm sorry, I'm back now. He
Hi.
walks up to Lithera, and he outstretches a hand. He is a imposing elven figure. He's moon elven in heritage, clearly from his purplish skin with dotted freckles across his face. He looks relatively friendly despite his stature being more imposing and what would be considered threatening. He does have a few scars across his face, probably from battles he fought himself. But he addresses Lithera with a bright grin like a child who has seen a hero and says, "Oh, it is so lovely to meet you. I've heard so much about you from my wife."
Lithera looks on a little confused, but offers her hand back in return. Hail. Hail, good king.
His grip on your hand is a bit stronger than probably is comfortable for you, but it's clearly not meant in any malicious intent. He just seems a bit too excited and forgot his own strength. And then he pulls his hand back with a bit of a sheepish smile and says, "I do hope my wife hasn't been too harsh on you. I know she can be a bit tough to get along with." And then he leans in and just, "Trust me, I've been married to her for a little bit too long to know that." And then he leans back and gives a hearty laugh. But regardless, all of you are here today, thankfully, due to your wonderful savior being there at the last moment, just when she was needed. The queen pinches the verge of her nose and rubs at her eyes a little bit, in that manner of someone who is patiently waiting for her turn to speak, but doesn't interrupt her husband. Do you guys have were there any concerns, or did something happen? Did people not treat you appropriately? Please let me know. I was a bit tuckered out last night, so otherwise I would have shown up. I just came back from something I was taking care of in a different region.
Oh, no, I had loads of fun with my drinking contest.
Drinking contest, is that so?
Yes, with only the finest Dwarven ale.
He laughs again and claps you on the shoulder a bit too harshly. He's clearly in a good mood. And he addresses the rest of you and then looks back at his wife, noticing seemingly for the first time that she's been waiting for a moment to speak, and then says, "Oh, my apologies, right, this is a formal gathering. I'll let my wife take care of it from here if you would like to continue onward." And he returns to his throne to sit down with that same youthful, warm energy. After a moment to address her husband, she sighs a bit heavily and stands up with her hands in front of her, poised like a proper queen should. And she starts talking. She's deliberately keeping herself together, unlike her husband. "All right, now that pleasantries are out of the way, I should formally apologize once again that I wasn't supposed to send you on that mission. I got ahead of myself. I'm truly sorry that you could have gotten killed before you were
Lithera, Lithera just raises a brow.
To which
Well,
she doesn't seem to
it
notice.
is all right. After all, lesson learned, lesson learned. It just means we've got to get a bit stronger.
Even so, as a queen, I should have not made such rash decisions when it came to those I am personally sponsoring. The lives of the people around me are of utmost importance. Lithera, out of the corner of your eye, you notice Cole lean back a bit and then roll his eyes, looking to the side.
Well, if it's that big of a deal, maybe, you could tell me why so many of your former heroes that you've had have turned to...
I'm sorry, I'm not at liberty to discuss that, but it's more of a thing of I am deeply indebted to your savior, Lithera. Her voice wavers a little bit as if she's not sure if she should even say the name at first, and then she gets back right to what she's doing. And she actually smiles at the entirety of you. I am very aware of the situation that we're currently in. As I'm sure you're all aware, the state of things outside of the kingdom aren't exactly in tip-top shape. That's why we need people like you to help us out where we can't physically go to or offer assistance. And I probably should have not let you go out on your own after such a short amount of time. Again, I apologize.
If you wouldn't mind then, dear lady, perhaps filling me in on the situation. I've been gone rather long.
Oh, indeed. Just as a recap for the rest of you and a update for you, Lithera, things have gotten rather poor over the last couple of decades. There are more bandits, more crime than usual. There is something off about the world, and most people can feel it, though a lot of them will tend to ignore it. Here we're trying to actually make things a bit better in our own right. So I don't know much personally. I don't go out as much as my husband does, and she reaches over and taps him on the shoulder, and he nods like he does know a bit more, but not enough to give a whole rundown. And then she addresses you again. I am aware you've been gone a while, but the best hope that you have for learning what has been happening thus far would be to go to the Arcanum in the Tower District. They'll surely tell you everything that they know, and if they don't, then tell them that you're under my jurisdiction, I suppose, and they'll be more than happy to help. Do any of you have questions? I will be sending each of you scrolls of telling you what your next mission is to get you acquainted better with one another. But for right now, I think it's best if you take a bit of time off, recover from the mishap of your last mission.
Are there any dwarven dignitaries around that I should know about? After all, I wouldn't want to bump into one who's on bad terms with the third.
She looks at you a bit curiously, as if to say, why would you be on bad terms with dignitaries in the first place? But then quickly pulls herself together and says, there are many people here in the Cloud District and within our walls that stay here occasionally. I can't say for certain who they are. That would be a breach in privacy, but there are a number of them in the Cloud District.
Well, thank you. I may have to go and inquire with a few of them, possibly. See if there's anything I should know from them that might help you better.
I wouldn't bother them if I were you. They don't really take all that kindly to strangers, even if said strangers are the heroes of this kingdom. So give them a couple of days to get warmed up to you existing, I suppose, and then possibly address them as you would another royal member of the family. Lithera, roll insight.
That would be 22.
Do any of the others want to roll insight?
Raiann wants to roll insight.
I shall definitely try and
22.
23. Oh, you gained one off.
I get a
Get a what?
17.
That insight, though.
What was yours again, Nini?
22.
Natali, Lithera, and Raiann. You notice that the queen is acting really off for a queen. More specifically, her exhaustion doesn't seem to stem from overwork or anything. It seems that her exhaustion is more relief-based. Like she is tired because she was worried or stressed over something psychological rather than physical. And between the three of you possibly exchanging glances or understanding the situation, you kind of glimpse that there's something off about the way she refers to you as heroes. But she's still keeping herself together.
Your Highness, you seem rather out of sorts, if you don't mind me saying so. Is something the matter?
She looks a bit surprised at you, Natali, as if not being aware that you were actually catching on to anything. And then she just smiles and shakes her head, saying, "Oh, it's just a personal matter. No need to worry."
Raiann looks noticeably suspicious, but isn't going to say anything.
I think I'm going to do something a little bit bold. Just maybe.
Go ahead. See how well that turns out.
Lithera just looks up and goes, "Enough, sir, to give prayers."
She actually double takes for a second and looks at you strange, but doesn't respond to you. In fact, after a few moments of silence, she looks over at her husband, who notably looks confused about the situation. Like he hadn't noticed in the slightest that anything was off about his wife currently, so she does have her back mostly to him. And she's just staring at him, and he's looking at you, Lithera, as if you have seen something he hasn't. And she just regains her composure and smiles and says, "I haven't the slightest idea what you're talking about. It's really just a personal matter."
Well, okay, Your Highness, we shall leave now. We have much to discuss.
Of course, of course. I've already set up arrangements for you in an area in the Tower District. It's just a little ways away from the Cloud District. I hope you don't mind. It's probably better to your taste.
I might look around for a place of my own to rent while I'm
So you know where you're going, and if you need to ask directions from anybody, The place in which you're staying is called the Sleeping Pixies Inn. It's a fairly nice establishment. You shouldn't keep them waiting too long, though, otherwise they might think you don't exist. And the queen goes to sit back down and gestures for you all to go ahead and leave if you wish.
I start leaving, and I motion for the others warily to come.
Cole stays where he is.
Lithera stays where she is.
Raiann stays where she is.
Natali bows and starts to leave, but then sees that others aren't and is confused.
The queen is looking at both Cole and Lithera with a confused and slightly suspicious look. Like, do you have a question?
Just a few, milady, if you'd give me the time.
I'm a bit busy with diplomatic excursions right now. I need to fix a couple of things after my husband has returned finally. But if you need to inquire that badly, I'm sure I can spare a moment or two. Cole looks at Lithera with that look of, is this even going to be worth it?
My lady, please tell me, your honored heroes, why would they not stay within close reach of you? What are you afraid of?
I have no idea what you're talking about. Roll insight.
Yep. Roll insight or perception. Which one would this be?
This would be under insight.
Oh, good. Oh, goodness. And I just lost my dice. Where'd it go? As I make a mess. Yep, here we go. This is standard, Nini. Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh, my God. It went all the way under the next table. All right. Thank you, die. Nat 20. So perception is 28. Insight is 24. Yay.
She is most certainly fucking lying, and she is getting increasingly nervous. And the other guards you can actually see stiffen up. And Cole has that look on his face like, well then. I think you're mistaken on your assumptions. Heroes do as they will. They don't always follow the command of someone like myself, and I understand if they want to have a more freeing lifestyle as adventurers. I'm not going to restrain them at all.
Milady, if you pardon my rashness, please do not lie to me.
Lie? I'm not lying to you.
Seeing how no one had followed me, I head back in and start tugging nervously on Litheria's shirt. Lysaria, the rest of you, now may not be the best place or time to discuss this. Mayhaps we should go see you to our rooms?
But now is the best time.
At this point, Cole looks at Lithera and smirks. And you, Lithera, get the impression that he's going to make sure that the others don't interfere and try and get them away. So you can interrogate the queen. So he turns to the others and says, "Come on, let's go set up our rooms and shop a little bit. We did just get paid after all. I'm sure you guys have your money still, don't you? From the other job?"
Yes, but I do not feel comfortable. I think it might be for Lythera's safety if we stop aggravating the queen right now.
Oh, she can take care of herself just fine. Let's head on to the inn. Come on, Natali.
I give
Raiann. And he
Lythera
goes walking out
one
confidently,
last
like he didn't see
worried-
anything.
I give Lythera one last worried look and a cautious under my breath, like, be safe. We do not know this queen. Do not let anything happen to yourself. She is obviously lying.
You have my thanks for your concern.
And Natali gives the
And
same,
I leave.
Yes, Natali gives the same worried look as she follows suit.
Raiann, are you following with them?
Yeah, Raiann's following, but very hesitantly. She's
All right,
planning on
so the
maybe doing
four of
something
you
outside.
leaving Lithera with the king and queen and the accompaniment of guards, who all look very nervous. The queen is now looking expectantly and worriedly at you, Lithera.
My lady, I'm certain that my words have told at least a little of why I'm here. Please be frank with me.
Roll persuasion.
Oh boy. Yeah, no. That's a 7.
You never know, I might roll a nat one. That tied. I'm not sure what happens there.
You usually do a secondary roll. Double check.
It was even lower. Okay. So it doesn't matter if you got a 7. She looks to her husband and then to the guards and says, "Could you escort my husband out? I would like to speak to Lithera in private." And you see the guards nod slightly behind their helmets, and two of them escort the king in his bit of confusion and worry for his wife. But he leaves out a side door to the left, presumably to his chambers. And she looks at you, Lithera, with a bit of guilt in her eyes, and she says, "Please don't inform the others of this, but I have had other parties of heroes that I have been trying to go to that same area, all professionals. I thought this would be a different situation because I know something is wrong, very wrong here, and it's been much too long without any action taken."
There is something very wrong, my lady. However, sending someone to their death is not very advisable.
It wasn't my intention to send them to their deaths. I thought they would be able to handle themselves.
My lady, to be frank, me coming back was a miracle, to say the least. There are reasons and things that are in motion right now that are perhaps over all of our heads.
Lithera, roll perception.
$13.
Okay. She sighs heavily. You, Lithera, notice you've been at this long enough, especially from where you came from just not too long ago. You know when someone has more or less reached their breaking point in terms of keeping something hidden. And it's at that point that you see the queen collapse into her throne very heavily, like someone who has just gotten way too tired. And she looks at you with that look of a sovereign who has done everything with intentions to help her kingdom and her people and the livelihoods of everyone that looks for her. guidance and help. And she rubs at her temples for a moment, as if trying to figure out what to say. And then, I know you have no reason to trust any of us anymore, but please do try to trust me when I say that for all of the things that I have done in order to keep my people safe, sending people to their dooms and causing countless deaths is something that I wasn't intending on having happen. I really honestly do regret doing the things that I have done in order to keep my people safe, but I will do them again if that is what I have to do. And right now it is quelled. The evil is at least calmed from trying to recover from what the damage has been done to it, and that is good enough for me. For now, that is enough.
There is damage unseen, my lady. However, if I can be of any help.
I'm unsure if there is anything that you can do in the state that you're in right now. I mean no offense, but it just seems as if you're different. Something about you isn't quite right.
Lithera picks up her right arm, looks over the scarring that looks like Lichtenberg figures across her palm, her hand, and up her arm, glowing a faint blue. Yes, the times have not been nice, or kind in any way. However, I am ready.
Even so, I implore you to rest a bit. They may not seem like the best ensemble, but I am glad that you are around them. They need a guide like you. Someone who has seen the wariness of the world. I worry about them.
My lady, know that I was sent by another. I am to look after them for as long as I am able.
She looks confused at you for a second, and seems like she wants to ask about what you just said. But then she slackens her posture a bit and looks too tired to even question this. She then proceeds to stand up and gather her composure again and smile. Please keep this conversation between us. I do implore you to only keep what you gleaned off of me to yourself. And she looks around for a moment, and then towards the door where they left from. And do keep your gunslinger on a leash. He's not exactly what you would call trustworthy.
So I have noticed. Should you need me, my lady, send a raven.
She nods slightly towards you and then gestures for you to leave.
Lithera turns and goes.
Right then. So now all of you are outside of the kingdom's castle gates. And you are currently in the Cloud District. It's a lovely area full of golds and silvers and greens and blacks and oh my god. Joker. I'm sorry, my cat decided to knock something over.
Interrupting Kitty.
Stop.
We interrupt this program for cat.
Yes. But the Cloud District is a very wealthy district. It is right next to the kingdom, so most things here are wealthy shop owners and people who have residential homes or vacation homes in the kingdom because it's a lovely area. But for the most part, it doesn't seem like people really give you a second glance. They don't really seem to even acknowledge you exist at the moment. Except for the Dragonborn. The Dragonborn's a bit weird. You're a bit out of place here. You can clearly tell not many Dragonborn stop by in this city. There's a number of shops lining the main street. There's alleyways that people go down with jovial intentions, so far as you can see. But for the most part, everything seems glorious and grand and eccentric. And way down that main street that you're currently on, there's another gate leading to a different district of the town, the city. At this point, Lithera is just now joining you.
Should we find out where we'll be staying first?
Cole raises his hands behind his head and just leans back for about an inch and just shrugs up his shoulders, just like if you want to. You're starting currently from old jobs, presuming you didn't spend much and only use it on necessities and restocking. Each of you are starting with about 2,000 gold.
Oh.
Okay, that works. Well, now then, Cole, you sound like you could use a good drink. I know this.
He looks at you as soon as you say drink with this look of don't try it. He's not going to be swayed at all by your offers of a drinking contest. You just get that feeling of he's a bit too straight-laced at the moment. But Sarah, I want you to make an insight check. You have the second highest passive perception.
$18. So the same as my passive.
Cole looks noticeably tense. Like, this is not an area he wants to be in. But aside from that, he looks about as unnerved as everybody else right now, considering they just almost aggravated the queen of this kingdom. He looks like he doesn't want to be in this district whatsoever.
Well, I'm walking right next to Cole, conveniently patting up as close to his back as I can reach.
You're a bit small for that. You might want to watch where your hands are.
Exactly. And I'm all like chatting away like, oh no, don't be like that, boy.
He
Don't be like that.
steps away from you and gives you this glare of you're really pushing your luck, and he keeps walking down the main road towards the next gate.
I skip halfway up behind him again. And I'm all like, now, I guess if you don't want some ale, I do know some good, strong soups that may help you.
Lithera rolls her eyes and shakes her head.
And he just mutters under his breath towards you, you don't take a hint, do you?
Well, I'm just trying to break the ice, after all.
Break the ice after we've all had a nice rest. Not all of us enjoy drinking with people who steal for no reason. And he keeps walking.
What do you mean, steal? Who are you calling a thief?
He doesn't say anything. In fact, he seems like he's ignoring you. Is everyone else following suit?
I suppose.
Yes.
My Nimue is just going to be completely puzzled because she does not get the reference to the steal.
Yes, Nellie was amused by everything that was happening until that point where it's just like, wait, what?
Raiann is also a bit puzzled.
Lithera just chuckles.
I'm gonna say, Cole, I'm very sure that poor royal guard I drink with was not a thief. Why would you call him so?
He's not talking about you, my dear. And Lithera pulls up her hood and keeps following Cole.
Cole gestures vaguely towards Lithera as if to point out, listen to her. After about 10-15 minutes of useless conversation with Cole, he doesn't really seem to want to talk to you at all after Niminue is pushing her luck. The guards notice you and immediately start shouting orders to someone at the top, and the gates creak at first and then soundlessly open for you guys. And Cole heads right on through without any hesitation towards the guards.
I suppose we're welcome then.
I wave merrily up to the guards and like, oh, Boyo's up there. I'm sure if you want to take a rest on your breaks, I'd be more than happy to.
You hear Cole's voice a little ways away saying, if you keep trying that, you're going to get in trouble.
You broke up there.
You broke up real bad.
You hear Cole a little ways in front of you raise his voice enough to actually have you hear him while he's walking, and he says, you keep trying that, you're going to get yourself in trouble with the royal family. Wouldn't want to upset your employers, now would you?
But where I come from, drinking with the royal guards is just normal on your
a little more distant.
Days off.
You hear the interruption of a response from Cole, a little quieter, a little bit harder to hear, but still audible. We're not back where you come from, honey. And keeps walking.
I just cheekily shrug my shoulders and wave merrily at the guards before I continue.
The guards awkwardly wave back, like they're not sure how to take what they just heard. After you all enter through the gates, they creak a bit in what sounds like protest. They probably need a bit of a tune-up. Not too bad, just enough. They soundlessly close behind you with a very soft tick, as if to make sure nobody else can pass through. And Cole is some 15-20 feet in front of you by this point, since you've stalled a little bit. Lithera is probably closer, about 10 feet. But he doesn't seem to really care whether or not you're following him or not. But you realize this is the Tower District, and you find that out pretty quickly because there is a large stone / iron structure that looks like a tower that looks temple-like, but is most certainly a tower. It is named appropriately, because you could see that from anywhere in the city. You were just a bit preoccupied. This place is a bit more middle to upper class, but mostly people here seem to recognize who you are and give a hearty wave, and some people try and haggle with you. Offhanded merchants, seeing who you are, thinking you have money, and which you do, because you're with the royal family in terms of employment. So they hassle you, try and get you over with them. And some of them are items merchants, some of them sell what you would assume to be off-brand items that may not work as intended. But for the most part, things are rowdier here, but definitely less snooty. Cole is slipping in and out through the crowd currently, as if he's a natural here.
I try and keep up with Cole.
Roll dexterity. And anybody who's trying to keep up with him, do the same.
All right.
I'll roll dexterity.
Here's a D20. It's a 9.
I get a 16.
19.
15.
Natali and Raiann. Lady, you said you got a 16?
Yes.
Natali and Raiann, you definitely have trouble here. One of you because of your stature and general off-putting nature, because again, you haven't seen another Dragonborn-esque entity. And Natali, you're just not used to all these people because you're used to smaller, quainter villages and towns. You're not really used to the city in this regard. However, for Niminue and Lithera, you find with relative ease that you're able to keep up with him, and even though he takes note that you're still with him somehow, he just shrugs and turns to the left. And you know for a fact after someone had noticed you were trying to go to the tavern, the inn, possibly because they were overhearing or was told by someone of the upper class, they had pointed to up and to the right. Cole is going the opposite direction.
Oh no, what a choice.
You two, Natali and Raiann, you don't see anything. You're kind of stuck behind. You're trying to get through the crowd.
My eyebrows lift a little bit as I notice the different directions, and I kind of give an arching, questioning brow at Lithera.
Lithera reaches into her bag and pulls something out.
Okay. What does she pull out?
Old friend, I may need your help. There is a green owl figurine in her hand.
Oh, why?
Ha!
I did this. This is my fault.
You did.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You did this to yourself. Placing it down on the ground, a small flash occurs and a giant owl now stands before her, wings flared. Dear friend, if you wouldn't mind following that man.
The owl trills in response, a little coo, and responds in kind with... I can't do that noise. Thank you, though. My voice does not let me do that. But you get an agreement from the owl in question, and it takes off into the sky to follow. And it is heading after Cole.
Stay silent, stay well, dear friend, and thank you. Lithera turns and heads towards the tavern instead.
I follow Lithera, content that we would shortly know what he...
By this point, Natali and Raiann have managed to weave their way through the crowd and didn't notice at all what was happening, except maybe Raiann did notice that there's a sudden owl suddenly flying through the sky.
A very large owl.
Mm-hmm.
Large enough to ride. That's a big dang owl.
Yeah, other people do notice that, but they're just like, you know what, we've seen weirder, and they overlook it entirely.
Yeah, just a random green giant owl flying through the air.
Yes, it is.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a world of dragons and whatnot. What are you expecting?
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
If you're startled by
But
a large
hey,
green
even
owl, you're not going to
then-
last very long.
Even then, I would say that would be kind of odd for the certain area we are in.
You don't know that. You just got here.
You see green ones all the time.
You don't know what they see. The four of you now head down the street some more and follow the directions that you were given, and you find a rather cozy-looking inn called the Sleeping Pixie, as you were told before by the queen.
Here, have a green fluff.
Excellent.
Did you just say have a green fluff?
Fluff!
You find that the area is pretty cozy. It feels more rural. It feels like people aren't so much interested in the money as they are in the people behind the money. And when you walk in, the person behind the desk, presumably the owner, notices you, especially Lithera, and almost drops what he has in his hands. A bit of a stout, round kind of fella. Looks half dwarven in nature. He addresses all of you after catching what he had in his hand, what looks like a ledger of some sort, and he places it on the counter and beckons you over with a, come on, what are you waiting for? Don't let the cold air in.
Oh, you're dwarven. You've got some dwarven in you, don't you, boy?
He gives you a bit of an odd look and says, it's business hours. If you're looking for a drink, I'm not really keen on it myself.
But why not? It must mean you're able to hold a drink better than those royal guards were.
I'm going to just leave that where it lay and get to actual business. And he addresses the other three with a nice smile. And it's like, I was told by the queen you would be staying with us. Do you have a specific requirement for your rooms?
Yes, lots and lots of dwarven ale.
Well within ear distance of each other.
So do you want rooms that are next to each other in that case?
That would be great.
Do you want windows or specific sheets or...
Yes, I'd like a window that opens out to,
Very well. Anything else that we can accommodate with you for? I'd be happy to help a employed assistant of the queen.
Lithera just rolls her eyes and pulls her hood a little bit lower over her face.
He gives you a bit of a confused look, but ultimately brushes it off because, hey, he doesn't know you.
I don't think there'll be anything else now.
Excellent. Let's get you to a proper arrangement. And then he pauses and looks between you guys and drags his finger across the air. One of you's missing. I was told there'd be 5.
Yes.
Oh, well, Cole will be here soon. Don't worry.
Are you sure? I was told that you'd all be together when you arrived. He's looking warily at the 4 of you, like he doesn't actually trust what was told to him, but it's just he's following commands as much as he is.
Oh, well, he thought he needed a bit of a detour. That's okay. He'll be here soon.
He does leave off a lot, doesn't he?
Lithera checks her connection with her owl, closing her eyes a moment to do so.
Okay. That's how that works. You see through your owl's eyes. Cole is still, for a moment, walking down a relatively not traversed alleyway. And after looking around for a moment and then looking up, he flips off the owl and walks into a building.
Oh, just look at this poor dear. She's half fallen.
Pardon?
Roll perception for me, Nini.
For the owl or for me?
For the owl.
Okay. Oh gosh, where did I put his sheet?
If you're going to be using the owl, you should have had it out.
I know. Let me be a derp for a minute. Oh, it's over here. Here it is. Or maybe not. Where'd it go? Oh no.
In the meantime, while Lithera is just fucking spacing out for a moment,
Let me space.
Natali, Raiann, and Niminue, because I can remember things. After a moment of looking at Lithera just standing there completely silent, the half-dwarven male steps around the counter and gives her a strange look, but decides to not question it, and gestures for the other three of you to follow suit, and then says, "Missus, whenever you're ready to come up, just go upstairs and you'll be able to find your room. I'll leave the key there for you so only you can handle it, all right?" And he walks up the staircase on the right side of the inn.
Found it. 18.
Okay. The other three of you follow suit after he informs Lithera that he'll have the room waiting for her. And he leads you all to your individual rooms, and they're relatively nice. They're definitely better than most of the inns and taverns that you've probably slept in before. It's well kept together, clearly because of people frequenting this place and knowing of its rather rustic hospitality. And indeed, all of your requests were fulfilled, one of you having an open window that you can do as you wish. And the beds are really comfy. You could definitely pass out here for a while.
I misspoke. Since it has advantage on perception checks, that would be a 21.
Oh yeah, like that makes a difference. You passed before, but now you super pass. Okay. So, Lithera, through the eyes of the owl, you actually see the name of the establishment that he walked into for a moment, because it is only lit up for a second, so that probably in response to someone familiar walking by, it is the Harpoon Lounge. It doesn't look like exactly your nicest establishment. It looks more seedy and in the wall type of area.
How joyful. I'll let my owl sit watch.
All right, the owl flies down to a nearby roof, just out of view from anybody who would look up or around to see if they're being followed, and just perches there and waits. It doesn't seem like he's coming out anytime soon.
That's fine. There's plenty of time. Lithera opens her eyes and pays attention to her surroundings again.
Your compatriots have clearly gone upstairs by the trailing footsteps, going to what you assume to be their rooms on the right side of the establishment.
Mm-hmm. I'll follow up the stairs.
Do you grab your key?
Oh, this is true. Key. Grab the key and head up the stairs.
you find your room relatively easily. You can actually pick it apart from the rest, which is probably not good for privacy reasons, but you assume that it wasn't done intentionally. It is a bit of a finer make, possibly to help with alleviating some stress and tension between you and the queen, possibly something she called in last minute when you were spacing out a bit. But it does look noticeably nicer than when you glance into the other rooms that seem nice, but not as nice as yours. It seems that she's thanking you for keeping your word.
Lithera shakes her head and heads inside her room.
All right. Is everyone going to take a rest?
Yes, please.
My character just, sits on top of the roof outside her bedroom and people watch.
Roll athletics. Because it's a bit of a steep incline. Hey, you're trying to scale the side of a fucking building.
I get an 18.
You find your way up to the roof with relative ease, and this isn't exactly the best place to people watch, but through a couple of spots in between buildings and houses that are mostly vacationary for those who have money but not an exceeding amount. You can see through and see people come and go less and less as the days go by, as the hours go by. But nothing really seems out of place.
I'm keeping an eye out for anyone suspicious looking.
I am going to kill my cat. I'm sorry. Continue.
I said, the people watching I'm doing is people watching for anyone suspicious.
Okay. Excuse me getting mad at my cat. We interrupt your regular scheduled program. Roll perception with disadvantage because this is a very small gap you're trying to look through. My cat's trying to steal my phone.
With the mod added, I have a 7.
Oh, what?
17.
You don't see so much as people being suspicious as there are definite people who are tipsy and probably should not be out this late at night. There are some nocturnal folk who clearly are out and about and looking for a nice time, but no one inherently suspicious. But after a little bit of watching, you do see overhead an owl that is moving again.
I keep an eye on the owl.
Good owl. Best owl.
Watching the owl, it seems to keep to the general area of across from where you're staying, and then it moves a little bit to the right and then settles down on the top of a building again. Just out of your purview.
Interesting. Very, very interesting, boy.
It's about 12:31 in the morning at this point.
I fall asleep up there.
You
Oh
what?
boy.
Well, that can only end well.
This
What
will be
now?
fun.
What's being requested of me?
I fall asleep up there.
Okay.
The
You have a
sigh.
bed. You have a bed.
No, look.
Why?
It's not like rolling.
Why? Because don't you know, you always, if someone's acting suspicious, you go to an inn that they are referring you to. You stay somewhere where if they come in during the night, they cannot stab you in your sleep.
Oh, your paranoia is very much intense,
Yeah.
madam. But
Yeah,
okay.
fair enough.
I mean, it's not cold, but it's not hot either. It's gonna kill your back in the morning. You're definitely not gonna have a fun time with that.
My character slept in worse places.
Not exactly the point, but okay, I'll take it. You will eventually wake up around 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, and you notice as one of you walks out. Who's the first one to wake up? Who wakes up earliest?
Probably my character.
After going to bed at 1? I sure hope not.
Natali might.
Yeah, my character was a royal guard, remember?
Why would you go to bed at 1? Never mind, not the point. Oh. Yes, Zany?
Trance sleep for elves.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true, and same here, I think.
I think, yeah, you have a
Trance, yeah, 4 hours instead of sleeping for 8.
Wait, do half-elves have that? I forget.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Then yeah, same.
I'm assuming Raiann is the last to get up due to the taxing nature of yesterday's endeavor. Natali and Lithera, you walk out of your rooms at roughly the same moment, which is a bit of an awkward situation for the both of you, but you ultimately brush it off.
Before walking out of the room, Natali will summon Russet and have a little conversation with him, but that's about it. Before walking out.
So, I'll get back to you, Nessie. Natali and Lithera, you brush off the awkwardness of just walking out of the room at roughly the same time, and just, you notice, Lithera rather, because Natalie's passive perception is not great. Lithera, you actually see that the last room that was previously unoccupied is currently occupied. You assume that is Cole.
I check my owl.
I would have checked your owl since I was keeping an eye on it when I fell asleep.
Yeah, you fell asleep though, so you probably missed a lot. What are you checking the owl for specifically?
To see if it's over the tavern or not. The inn.
It is in fact perched up on the top of the inn.
Okay. I head downstairs out the front door and call my owl to return.
As expected, your owl returns to you with a happy coo.
Thank you, dear friend. And I tuck the statue back into the pouch that I had it in.
Alrighty. Natali, you walk downstairs. You didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. Or you could roll perception if you wanted to see if you saw that specifically, but it's pretty early. I don't think you'd actively search for something like that.
Yeah. I don't think it would really catch my interest who else is staying in the same hall, so...
So you head back downstairs, and Lithera walks back in, and you do catch the faint sound of scratching sound on the side of the wall outside. And Niminue steps out of her room a little bit later than usual. She follows suit. Raiann is still asleep.
Can I investigate the source of the sound?
Sure.
Yeah, Russet will jump off of Natalie's shoulder.
Why do you guys do this? I can't say anything.
You're welcome. Investigation is 18, by the way.
Investigation for you.
I probably shouldn't have had the weasel do investigation, but you know what?
It's a thing.
I already said it, so that's a 7.
The weasel really doesn't have the purview from ground to about the window area, but you, Lithera, you do notice that there are like slight indents from what you would presume to be someone in armor stepping off of the windowsill and back into the room. Because someone decided to sleep on the roof.
Is it Raiann? Is he asleep right now?
Lithera just sighs and walks back inside. She'd better get used to this.
Does Raiann wake up?
Yeah.
Alright, so after you all are sitting at the bottom, in the bottom area, and food is being brought out to you as courtesy of the owner and the queen herself being paying for it right now, you see Raiann walk downstairs with a first heavy footfall and then slowly more graceful footfalls of someone who's not exactly what you would call a morning person, because at this time it's about 11:30.
I look around at everyone and say, well, the boy Cole had a late night last night. He was out across the way, across a few streets down from where I was at up on the roof. He was out until like after 1 o'clock in the morning.
As if on cue, before anyone else can say anything about that situation, you all hear the very steady, not at all... Well, actually, take that back. You hear steady footsteps coming from upstairs and then stop at the top.
I wouldn't be too worried. He should be down shortly.
He sure seems to sneak off a lot. Just in general.
While he's being talked about, he continues down the staircase and takes a seat right next to Lithera.
Hello there, boyo. Did you have a good night, Cole? You were out very late.
He just gives you this look like it's none of your business.
Lithera looks at him and
go ahead.
Did you find out anything?
He looks at you, Lithera, and while everybody else needs to make a perception check, aside from Lithera.
13.
Nine.
I get a 13.
All of you failed. None of you see anything out of the ordinary. It just looks like another caustic look between Cole and Lithera. But Lithera, you recognize the caustic look of someone trying to keep others from noticing that, yes, in fact, he did learn something while he was out, but he's not going to say it in public. Not around these ones. And then he looks back down at the now food-covered table and starts eating.
Lithera nods slightly and then turns to the.
Well, boyo, you must have, she must have been very, very good if you stayed out that long. Either that or, you've got a good stamina.
He just looks at you and smirks. Wouldn't you like to know?
Well, I'm afraid, boyo, you'd be too big for me.
Oh, I hate you.
You walked right into that.
I'm trying to play a character that isn't mine.
You walked directly into that.
Alright.
Yeah.
Cole snorts a little bit and almost chokes on his drink. And he shakes his head in that manner of, you're not so bad. So he's warming up a little bit to you, but still doesn't really care for you.
I look brightly around the room at the rest of my companions and go, well, you know how the old dwarven saying goes.
No, I don't believe I do.
Oh, sorry.
Just Cole looks at you, Niminue, and says, no, I don't believe I do. I don't visit the dwarven areas very often.
Well, you know what they say. The longer you go, the better relief you'll feel.
Is that really a dwarven phrase?
Yes. At least that was what the one who raised me was always saying when he came in late.
Cole just offhandedly scoffs and finishes what he's eating and downs the rest of his drink and goes ahead and sets, very politely actually, his utensils aside and his plate underneath his cup and goes back upstairs to his room.
Lithera finishes her food and follows.
Anybody else want to try that?
I try and sneak along behind to ease.
Roll
Here we go.
stealth against two very stealthy individuals' perceptions.
Do I have a disadvantage or
absolutely. They both know you're there. They both know you're there solely because both of them saw you at the table. So it's a disadvantage.
Well, as I'm sneaking, I'm casting minor illusion to make my footsteps go in the opposite direction.
I'm pretty sure that's not how minor illusion works, but
You can make sound at a point, but you can't make it move, no.
Yeah.
Well, I'd have the point at the opposite direction I'm going.
That's not how that works. I'm pretty sure.
It's a specific point, not a moving direction.
Yes, but I'm saying the opposite point, as in the footsteps are at the opposite end of the hallway.
What we're trying to say is that when you use minor illusion, the sound that you're trying to do doesn't give off a sensation of moving farther away. It'll sound the same no matter how far away someone is. So it won't sound like you're walking away. It'll just sound like someone cast minor illusion in the middle of the hall.
Oh, okay.
So you just rolled bad, and Cole actually does look at you before he enters his room and says,
I haven't actually rolled the stealth yet.
Yeah, well, I don't think you're going to beat a nat 20.
Cool.
Yeah, no, I didn't beat the nat 20.
Nat 20 of perception. You're not getting past him. He just looks at you and says, a little bit of privacy, would you? And then looks at Lithera with a moment of, come on in.
Lithera nods her head and walks in.
The door shuts behind them. You can try and listen in.
I lean against the door, one door away.
Okay. Roll perception.
I get a 16.
You hear bits and pieces of the next conversation. Lithera, Cole leans against the now closed door with his arms crossed over his chest, and he looks pleased with himself.
Seems like you found something good.
Oh, absolutely.
Do tell.
One of my contacts in this city, they've been keeping an eye out for me while I've been out gallivanting, getting paid to do what I've always done. And they have picked up on something quite unique about this area. They've told me that, rather ironically, the Queen has been hiding the fact that many of the roaming bandits are her fault. On top of that, there's apparently some problems with the arcane arts in this city. The things are going a bit sour, and she's trying to hide it.
Interesting indeed.
Though my contact doesn't seem to feel any need to say that she is actively trying to hide it for her own gain or for others. But from experience, it's always for some political gain, as it were.
Any royal has to save face. But she did tell us to at least investigate the Arcanum. A good place to stop next if something is going sideways.
That's true. I'd be wary, though. Never know what could happen.
Oh, always be wary.
Especially with the lot that we're with right now.
Yes.
He stares at you for a second and then uncrosses his arms and puts his hands into the pockets of his pants and sighs. So what's your deal?
Depends on the deal you're asking about.
It doesn't seem like you'd be the sort to help out, what was it? A group of fools rushing into a battle they don't understand.
Generally, I'm not. I'd rather not do that anymore. However, circumstances dictate that I follow you.
Magically bound contract. Bounty hunter?
Not as such.
Getting paid to watch over us, babysitting as it were.
Not getting paid at all, actually.
Charity work?
Let's just say I wasn't kidding about the miracle.
He scoffs. He really doesn't believe you in the slightest about that. But he doesn't question it either at this point. Well, whatever the case, keep an eye out. Those ones are incredibly nosy. And he looks over towards the right side of the wall. They mean well, but they don't have any sense of privacy. Nice touch about the owl, by the way. You could have just asked.
I intend to keep an eye on all of you, one way or the other. Even if you wish to venture far, you would have had an ally.
I don't need an ally, especially not of someone that I can't trust.
Oh, that's the fun part. You don't have to trust me. You just have to understand I'll do work.
He addresses you in absolute silence for a bit, and it's, to most people it'd be intimidating, but you've seen far darker looks and it doesn't affect you in the slightest. So after a moment of realizing that his intimidation isn't working, he sighs and scratches the nape of his neck. Well, I believe we're being summoned. The others are going to start getting suspicious again. Might have to come up with some articulate design of why we keep meeting up. I don't think you'd be at all interested in me, now would you?
No, not as such.
He snorts and pushes off of the door and opens it again, gesturing to leave. After you.
My thanks. And she walks out of the door.
He follows suit and closes it behind him and just stares at the gnome who is leaning against the door.
I just grin and wave and grin and wave.
Make a deception roll.
I'm not being deceptive, I'm just grinning and waving.
Yes, you are. You are sitting there trying to not be suspicious. Maybe roll perception. Actually, insight.
Oh, no.
I rolled a natural 19. Nope.
14.
I rolled a natural 19 with +7. Cole is really just giving you a really nasty look. Just privacy, lass. Come on.
I just grin and wave, grin and wave.
Cole could not look more tired with this ensemble he's with.
Lithera just sighs again and walks down the stairs, trying to ignore the strange gnome.
Cole glares at you, Niminue, for a second, and then continues downstairs to rejoin the others.
After he turns his back and starts walking down, my eyes turn a little bit crafty, looking at him like,
I can't even joke with you. His Cole's stats for deception and perception are so fucking stupid. I'm so sorry. There's like no way you'd ever get past him unless it's a nat 20 and I roll a 1. That's how bad his stats are. He's broken. I did this to myself.
You're the one that helped with the stats. I don't know what you were expecting.
Gunslinger's broken. So is everyone going back downstairs? Gnome?
Yes, I shall follow along after a slight pause.
Cole sits back down and like flashes out his long coat over the back of the bench and just lays his arms crossed on the table. So what do you have in mind? Are we shopping today, or are we going to go right on ahead to our job?
You guys can go shopping if you wish me. I am interested in looking up those.
It's always nice to have an extra potion on hand or two. Because clearly you guys can't seem to handle yourselves.
Well, now, that ain't all that bad, but I've got a dwarf to see.
I'm trying not to laugh. This whole situation is stupid.
It's great.
It's awesome.
Cole just looks at Lithera with that look of, is she serious?
I just grin and wave.
Lithera just leans back in her chair, pulling her hood down further over her face.
Cole pinches the bridge of his nose and Seems to be heavily debating whether or not to stay or leave. And after a moment, his impulse takes over and it's like, I'm going to go elsewhere out of this stuffy place. And he waves his hand.
I arch an eyebrow before he leaves and goes, "Oh, Boyle, you ain't even going to ask me which dwarf it is I'm going to..."
He just looks at you with that really bored expression, like it is almost painful how bored he looks with this conversation already, and says, I'm not interested in your personal affairs, Gnome.
Oh, then you mean you wouldn't be interested in knowing that this dwarf is one of the highest rated blacksmiths?
Okay.
He's already gone. While you're talking, he's gone.
Oh no.
I turn my look to the others. So, any of you boys feel like you want to meet one of the best blacksmiths in the Dwarven Kingdom?
Lithera thinks on it a moment and goes, I think I might follow you.
I was actually thinking of looking around for buying some magical components. I suppose if you could help me find that on the way?
Yes. I'm sure we can find that too.
All right then.
I think Natali has a good idea there. I also need to get some things.
What sort of components are you both looking for?
Well, and Natali takes out her spell book and flips through a few pages.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, good.
I see what we can find.
I don't know yet, but I'm sure that's useful.
Lithera, you recall what you mentioned earlier about the Arcanum being a place you might want to look into.
If you're looking for items, we should probably stop by the Arcanum. The Queen did mention it before.
Yes, that does seem a good place to start.
Are all of you headed to either the blacksmith, which you're actually not sure actually stays here, for the record. He never said he actually stayed here. But, you know, the Arcanum is somewhere here. That's a real big assumption you made there, lady.
He is a blacksmith. Even if he's visiting somewhere else, he still has a blacksmith's heart.
I'm not sure what that's supposed to imply, but sure.
Means a blacksmith is always going to try and sell their wares, no matter where they're at.
I'm pretty sure that's not how that works, but sure.
Yes, it is. I've read enough books on blacksmiths.
Probably try and sell the name of their wares, not their wares itself, especially if they're on vacation. But okay.
No blacksmith is ever on vacation.
Okay. Well, regardless, what are you guys doing?
While flying, did my owl ever see or figure out where the Arcanum was?
Roll investigation with advantage.
On the owl or me?
At this point, both.
Oh, good. I'm okay. Owl gets 17. I get a Yeah, I get a 20.
Okay, so yes, with the flying around, while keeping an eye on Cole, who definitely had quite the romp around, Gnome wasn't lying. You did see a glimpse through the owl of the Arcanum. It's kind of hard to miss. There are hanging lanterns of colored fairy fire just contained in one area, and it's fenced off for the most part with infused gates of arcane energy with sparks of purple. Not so much lightning, it's too fluid for lightning, but purple arcane energy dancing between the tops of the gates. And it looks way too sophisticated to be in this area, which is definitely more the higher up white collar, blue collar worker area. It doesn't seem like it belongs here, but that's where it is. It's near the tower of this tower district, off to the left. So from where you are now, it would be about a 15-20 minute walk to the east.
Okay. Lithera stands. I think I know where the Arcanum is, and heads towards the door.
All right then. And Natali follows suit.
Raiann follows suit too, I guess.
All right. So
I leave and start hunting down the box
good.
that I won the drinking contest.
Okay. Lady, you roll investigation. The other three of you walk to the Arcanum, which is a fairly nice day out. There's not too many problems. People gesture towards you with a bow of their head in respect towards what you do, or they wave towards you towards just a general friendly demeanor. They don't seem to really bother you after that first excursion of just, oh look, you exist. They know you're there now. They don't really give you any heed. So you approach the Arcanum without any problem at this point, and the people of the Arcanum don't really seem to recognize who you are at first. And then they see you, Lithera, and they seem startled for a second and almost scared. But they don't seem to want to get any closer, and the guard at the front actually backs up a step when you approach.
Hale, might you share some information with us?
The guard is warily watching you specifically, Lithera. Is there something I could help you all with specifically? We're a bit booked today.
Yes. The Queen sent us.
Did she? The guard doesn't seem to believe you. She's a bit of a lithe figure, but clearly nimble enough to do some damage if necessary. Light armor. Not any showing weaponry, but Lithera, you know for a fact that you don't need to be showing your weaponry in order to have it. She's standing there as if she can hold her own despite the fearful step back.
Yes, we were told as much in our meeting with her yesterday.
Her eyes jump over to Natali as soon as she starts speaking. What exactly are you looking for?
Information on the goings-on.
That means you would need to be speaking with the headmaster, and the headmaster is quite a busy mistress at the moment.
Could we schedule an appointment then?
I'm not sure that would be such a great idea. And she looks at Lithera rather pointedly. There is
Lithera-
definitely some tension in the air.
Lithera just looks back. I think we're going to have to insist.
The guard says nothing, but doesn't open the gate either. She does not seem to believe at all that the queen sent you.
Lithera looks to the shadows, wondering if there might be anything she can use.
The shadows don't really respond to you this time around.
Okay. Is there anything that I can sense in the air because of the magic, or
Roll perception.
that would be a 19?
On this perimeter, it's a general sense of brimming magic potential. Like there's something constantly happening underneath the very stonework that paves these alleyways and these roads. Here it is the strongest. It feels like there is a constant movement of magic flow, but it's kept in this one area to the extent that it probably will be overwhelming if someone who's not used to magic in its rawest form won't handle it very well. The fact that the guard is unflinching in this regard means that she's probably been around this area for a very long time. It feels as if there is something actively happening currently to make it stronger.
I suppose if we can't get permission, maybe the Queen could give us a request herself?
She already did.
Well, I mean, in a more official sense, with maybe a letter or something we could show.
Hold
After
that
all,
thought. Niminue, you're looking around for the blacksmith that you met before. He's not exactly the most elusive sort. He's pretty open about his whereabouts, so people can easily direct you to where Dorakur is. He's relaxing in a tavern/club area. He's clearly not on the job. He's not trying to think about the job. He's enjoying his time away from the Dwarven Kingdom with a couple of elven, small Dragonborn entities that seem to also want to enjoy everything. But he doesn't really seem to notice that you're there.
Any more Dragonborn, finally.
Yeah, in other words, he's taking a vacation.
Yep. Someone's enjoying himself with the ladies.
He is. Are you going to do something?
Did my 16 on investigation do it?
Yeah, you found him.
Yeah, you found him. He seems to be enjoying himself with company.
Oh, okay.
He looks like he's on vacation.
I go up, knock on his door and say, "Hey there, Boyle. You know, that sure was some drinking competition.
Before you can even get another word out after, hey, a couple of other people that you didn't notice before actually step up in front of you as if to guard him specifically and look at you with a stern sense of who are you and the general bodyguard sense. And They look pretty nasty.
I glare at the two of them for
You're craning your neck up some
for
distance.
looking down. Yes, but still, I glare at them.
Roll intimidation.
Lucky thing, my intimidation's a +7.
Ooh, get them.
16 +7.
Ooh, get them.
For a moment,
16 +7.
they, as soon as they step in front of you and you glare at them, they actually take a quarter step back, but try and hold their ground, but they lean away a little bit and look away from you. But they don't move so much. And the blacksmith in question notices that something's happening behind him, and he turns in his seat, and it's not so much a door as it is an open area that he kind of, what you assume to be rented out for the evening. And he notices you and just like, "Oi, Gus, what are you doing here?"
Well, before these two boyle louts here interrupted me, I was about to treat you, my lovely, wonderful drinking.
He
Putting it on really thick.
He looks towards the two individuals and gestures to move out of the way, and they, for some reason, the moment you look away from them, they seem to just disappear. Like they don't exist to begin with, or they have some ability or item that
Someone is-
Or I scared them.
Someone is employing ninjas.
Or like maybe I scared them too.
Oh my god.
They found an
You
excuse
scared-
not to be there.
You have scared a couple of ninjas. What the heck?
He himself looks over towards his company, who looks a bit confused, and he smiles towards them, just like, "Don't worry, this is a friend of mine from back home. I'll take care of this. I'm not really in the position to be drinking, lass. I appreciate it, but I'm kind of with somebody."
Well, you know, before you leave town, I would like to look at some of your wares. I'm sure you brought.
He looks between you and his company again with that look of, "What are you talking about?"
Why, you're a blacksmith, of course.
I am. That doesn't mean I...
Blacksmiths always bring along at least some of their wares.
Aye, that's true, but this is more of a relaxation thing than anything. I don't like working when I'm out on official royal business. I'm not here for selling my wares. I do have them, certainly, but I don't really plan on haggling right now, I'm afraid.
Well, I'll let you finish with your company, and I'll come back in about 3 hours, say.
He sighs with that kind of tone that makes you come to the realization that he really just doesn't want your company right now, but isn't going to try and dissuade it because you're a possible customer. And he's just like, "Oh, you lost 3 hours."
I wave merrily at him and depart to go meet up with the rest of my group for the next 3 hours.
Stop ruining the man's vacation.
Yes, poor guy.
What can I say? My character is very straightforward and upfront. She was raised by dwarfs. Come on.
She's great. I love her.
Yeah.
She's lacking a bit on tact, but it's fine.
Like I said, she's great. I love her.
Yeah.
So, you guys have been there for a while now, and you hear the steady footsteps of one of your last compatriots Cole still hasn't arrived, probably won't for another couple of hours. However, while you've been standing here and the guard has just been staring at you guys unwaveringly, all of you make a perception check.
Okay.
I was getting a snack. I need to go back to my dice.
Is it a perception check to hear or smell?
To hear.
All right. So with Russet, that'll be a roll at advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Got 9.
Okay. Hey, Bri?
Mm-hmm.
21.
Hello, darkness,
That's
my old friend.
8.
You're welcome.
Natalie
What was
gets an 8. Russet gets a nat 20.
Oh,
Okay.
well.
Lady, roll perception.
Oh, wait. I haven't arrived yet, have I?
It's been a while. They're still having trouble at the gate.
Lithera's having a stare down.
If it was anime, it'd be the glaring, shaking line.
I get an 18.
For Russet, Lithera, and Niminue, you hear the relatively close but faint sound of something ringing as if it were swaying. It seems to be coming past the gate.
Like past the gate, in front of the past the gate, like.
From inside of the Arcanum.
Like, is it a deep sound or a really light?
It sounds more like a light sort of sound, but it's echoey. It doesn't sound like it should belong there for where it is.
Lithera turns to the others. You need to get in there.
Is there something?
I walk up to the guards and give them my best, fiercest barbarian glare and say, "Now, looky here, boyos. You need to let us through. We have the queen's permission to..."
There's only one guard there, and she looks at you with the amount of fierceness that it actually makes you step back.
What, you mean I don't get a roll intimidation?
No, because I rolled a nat 20.
Well,
And, hey. What's the mod for that nat 20?
It's a nat 20.
So,
Yes, but mod-wise, added 2 for the intimidation roll.
did you get a nat 20 as well, dear lady?
That's what I'm trying to ask is, if I roll a nat 20, will my nat 20 plus 7 beat her nat 20?
Yes, it will, but it'll probably cancel out because it's still a nat 20, and in terms of, for rolling purposes, nat 20s don't really have any purpose with modifiers, so just cancel out.
Okay. Well then, I won't really try.
If we both rolled nat 20s, then it would probably just cancel out, and there's just a glaring contest happening.
Like Lithera currently. Mm-hmm. That's good.
So, while pacing, trying to figure out what to do, Natalie just kind of goes back from the group and tries to be out of sight and cast invisibility while the others are interacting with the guard.
Roll stealth.
Here we go.
Oh, D20, be merciful. That's a 7.
That's not merciful.
That's not merciful at all.
Nope.
Immediately, as soon as you approach with invisibility, The guard seems to immediately notice that you're there and stare directly into where your eyes would be if you were visible. And say, "Don't try that."
While this guard is occupied looking at the cloaked one, I try and slip.
Roll stealth. If you're trying to sneak past her, roll stealth.
More like try and take advantage.
You would have advantage on this, yes. If she is looking at someone else. You seem to be missing the point of the gate, though.
Okay, does a 17.
She doesn't see you slip by her, but in the process, you're stopped right at the gate, which is still closed.
How wide apart are the bars?
They're small enough so that the only thing that could possibly get through is a very slender rat.
Or a weasel.
Go
Well, you're
Oh,
testing it, aren't
evil.
you?
Go for it.
Go for
Yes,
it.
yes, send in the weasel.
Natalie reappears in place, looking very guilty. As Russet she rejoins the group. Russet runs from her shoulder down her back and around the group, trying to sneak past the guard.
With advantage because preoccupied with trying to keep this rowdy bunch in line.
All right. Oof, that is only a 15.
Let me...
I need to send you guys my dice.
Her eyes immediately snap to the familiar, and as a reaction of her noticing it, I'm not even joking, I rolled a 25.
Dang.
I rolled 20 plus 5.
Ouch.
The dice gods like me. With this particular guard, everything else is fuck you. You guys are having problems with this guard. She looks at Russet and then back at you, Natalie, and says, "It's your familiar in line, honey. I said no."
All right.
And then, as if on cue, after all this struggle, you all see a little bit ways ahead past the gate and the doors of the Arcanum, the large, what looks like double doors, slowly start to open, and 2 people start walking out towards you.
Oh, hey, over there. Can you help us out? This lad here wants to let us through.
After noticing that the gnome slipped past after just seeing her, she gets a bit sheepish and just "Get back from the gate! What the hell?"
I just give this bland look like, not
seeing you all
even.
at the gate, the 2 individuals pause for a second, and one of them disappears for a second, and it reappears at the front of the gate with long white and blue robes that seem to sparkle almost as the magic fades. And she has long, curly red hair pulled back, and her eyes are silvery gray in an unnatural manner. And she's wearing this sheepish smile, and she adjusts the wide-brimmed glasses on her face. And she says, "I'm so sorry. Is Shayla giving you a problem? Shayla, what did I tell you about visitors? Everyone's welcome." And Shayla, the guard, just addresses the woman with the look of exasperation and then says, Headmistress, you should know that it's difficult for people to be around here. I'm just trying to help you. Yes, I know, but these are our guests. I already got information from the queen that they were coming. Let them in, come on. I'm so sorry. She's a bit tough. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's alright. She was only doing her duty as a guard. From one guard to another, I understand.
Unintentionally ignoring all of you for a second, the headmistress looks towards someone else just out of all of you's purviews and says, Dear, could you let them in? Thank you. You can go on break now. And the gates creak with like a sudden sputtering shudder and then very quickly open like shutters. And it's just like, come on, let's go. My apprentice is a bit of an oddball. You'll have to forgive him. But come on. I'm sure you have a lot of questions, especially you, Miss Lithera. And keeps walking towards the Arcanum.
Lithera narrows her eyes, uncertain if she should walk past the gate.
You can roll insight. All of you can if you want.
I know I will.
This doesn't seem that. This isn't to Natali, at least.
I walked through.
That was a bad roll. That's a 10.
She seems like a decent individual, frazzled by the guard causing a bit too much trouble for her, but she doesn't seem all that bad.
Great.
So, everyone's heading in?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
She leads you down a fairly kept up with walkway of what looks like cobblestone and some granite in between to help fill in cracks. The grass has an unnatural sheen to it. Like it was infused somehow with the magic energy in the air, and you all can feel it. There is a lot happening in this Arcanum with the arcane arts. It feels like a bit of a heavy jacket.
Would I be able to recognize what it is?
You can roll to. That'd be an Arcana check.
Arcana check.
I'll do the same.
That's a 14.
Same, actually.
Oh gosh.
Does Raiann want to roll?
Yeah, I'll roll.
Wish I had advantage. That would have been a nat 20.
I pluck a single blade of grass out of curiosity.
Oh my lord.
As soon as you reach down, the slightly younger, tenser male next to the headmistress looks at you and like gestures not to do that.
I look up quizzically with my finger bare centimeters away from the grass.
He lowers his voice and says, for your safety, please do not try and wander away from the headmistress. Thank you. And
I wasn't trying to. I was only going to pluck a single blade of grass to bring with.
He just looks at you with that look of, please don't, and keeps walking. He looks very nervous.
I sigh
14,
and straighten back up and leave
Mars,
it.
what was yours? What was your roll for Arcana?
I don't remember anymore. Shoot.
14.
Yeah, it was the same as yours.
Oh my
14.
Jesus fucking Christ, you guys.
I have a +8 in this.
Okay.
1.
You all generally get the feeling that this place is used for enchantments and upgrading current enchantments. They look to be one of the one of the older establishments. Now that you're up close and can actually see it, they've been around a while, so they know how to protect themselves. But they also seem to be really back on the times. They're not kept up to standard with the rest of the district, but they do their work pretty well. And this heavy weight of magic is their work. It doesn't seem malicious, as far as you can tell.
For the moment, in other words.
You have no faith in me. So,
I wonder why!
You walk in through the double doors, and they're very ornate. They're clearly the most updated of the facility, probably to give off the sensation of, yes, we belong here. We just don't care to have that same appearance because we know what we're about. And they close behind you with a and it sounds really wrong. For what seems to be wood and iron, it sounds more like a clash of gears rather than wood. And the headmistress keeps walking. It's just like, I know it's a bit much. You might not be too used to it, but I promise you'll get used to it over time the more you come here, or if you stay here to study and whatnot. So, Alex, could you please go get, Shayara? Shayara would be lovely right now. She'll probably be able to help out, our dear friend, Lithera, and probably her other friends are asking for, I know it's going to be much. She's clearly not paying attention to you right now. She's requesting stuff of her apprentice.
I'd like to double check for a lie there because I'm curious about that door. I want to do
investigation or insight?
Probably investigation. I'd rather double check that door.
Go ahead.
So do we seem like we'll be stuck here for a while?
You don't know that.
16.
15?
16.
The door itself seems to be a mix of technology and magic, so the wood outside is probably just to make it seem a little bit more friendly. So it's not necessarily something to keep you here. You actually do put your hand against it, and it seems to respond with a few clicks of, it seems like it's about to let you leave, but as a result of the headmistress being inside right now with you all, it stops clicking and doesn't let you out just yet. It seems to be at the response of the headmistress herself, and she seems to want you here for a second.
Interesting.
As far as you can tell, it's a nice structure. It's very well built.
Alrighty.
So, as you walk further down, and the headmistress is continually talking to the apprentice at her side, who you heard referred to Alex. He nods at some point and steps away down another smaller passageway, but she continues walking forward and gestures to hurry on up to catch up to her. She herself is notably faster paced, not because she's trying to force your hand or anything. That just seems to be something that she does. She moves fast. And it doesn't really seem like she's malicious, as far as anyone else can tell. She just seems scattered. Eventually, you all come to a large library that has a bunch of floating books that turn on their own volition, and floating lanterns that are, some are upside down and some are at odd angles. And as soon as you walk in, they seem to right themselves and put themselves on the desks that are arranged around. And she looks sheepish for a second, and then looks to all of you and says, "I wasn't exactly expecting company. You'll have to forgive me." Getting wind that the heroes of the kingdom are coming to see me for advice. She fans herself a little bit and says, I could you just take a seat? I'm sure you all have questions, requests, and whatnot."
Yes.
Lithera doesn't look quite too comfortable with sitting down just yet. But she does take a moment to look over the books in the room.
Roll Arcana or History, whichever one you want to do.
Okay. I'm pretty sure they're the same.
Browse through the shelves as well and pick a book at random.
Roll just a flat d20.
I got a 9.
Those are some weird floating books.
Yay.
Did you tell me to roll at a flat d20?
Just a flat d20, because I don't know what this would be.
I get a 10.
A 10?
Yes.
You brush your fingers along the spines of various books, and you take one out. And the front of it is very worn. It's probably been used and read several times. But it looks to be on the art of arcane infusion.
I shrug and take it with me to start trying to read through it as I...
So rather than actually picking out any book in particular, Natali is just amazed by the scale of the visibly amazed by the scale of the room and
notably for all of you, you all take in you should have noticed this on the outside because it is large, too large to be in what was relatively a small one-story area. This is 4 stories worth of books and magics and everything. So you assume that there is some arcane infusion in its own room.
Raiann is just really giddy at all the books.
The headmistress is running around trying to get specific books. You can see that she gets one at some point and then mutters something under her breath and puts it back sheepishly and grabs the one next to it. And then after about 5 to 10 minutes, she comes back over to you guys and sets down 3 different books. One about the current history, possibly from what you can gather, Lithera, for you. For some reason, already knowing that you're not quite caught up. And for the Cleric and the Druid, there are books on things like herbalism and how to change certain monster pieces into enchantment artifacts and turning them into something of a focus. And it's just these are on me. Feel free to return them at any time you feel the need. I don't normally lend out books, so please take care of them. They are my kids. I love them, and I would die. I would actually die if something happened to them. Okay? All right. Anyway, you guys have questions, don't you? Requests? I'm sorry. I'm a bit all over the place currently. Do you need anything?
Lithera wanders over and picks up the book, starting to open it and read it.
Roll history. With advantage, because you have the book.
16.
Well, Sarah, you managed to glean that since your disappearance about 103 years ago, to be exact from the date that this book gives you, things have taken quite the toll for the worse there's a higher crime rate, there's worse magics being used. Necromancers seem to be more up and coming, not in the good kind of wanting to help people get closure, or rather just raising armies of undead. And many heroes, much like you were told by both the Queen and by Cole, have seemingly become darker and intense. They don't seem to want to listen or help anybody. They're in it for themselves for whatever reason. It seems like the world has really gone to hell. And from what you glean off of this particular book, Alera is actually, compared to most others who are trying to capitalize on the worst situations of the world, she is actually doing her best to use most of the money that comes in to help those outside of the walls and who are asking for her help.
Alrighty.
What should I roll to see how much I comprehend of the book in my...
I'd say just a flat D20 again. Because you're a barbarian.
Ooh, an 18.
You've heard of arcane infusion before. The blacksmith you were just with dabbles in it. It's how he makes a lot of his money. But you yourself have never really come into contact with arcane infused items. You've come across enchanted items and items that were once enchanted and have lost their color since then. But you really don't have much concern with it. You're more of just swing and hit and make sure you do the most damage before they can hit you. You're not really a magic sort, but you're aware that this can help somewhere later down the road if you really need it. But for now, it doesn't really pique your interest. It's a bunch of arcane jargon to you.
I slip it into my...
Okay, roll sleight of hand. With disadvantage, because you're being rude.
Fair.
But she just said she'd loan us
You
books.
said that about
The books that
specific books.
she picked out. Yeah.
3 specific books.
And she said specifically she doesn't normally do that otherwise.
I get an 18 again.
Huh.
I might have to go to sleep soon.
We're about to end soon, anyway.
Okay, cool.
What did you get?
An 18 again.
Somehow, even though there seems to be a bit of a protest from the book itself, it's not enough to keep it from being pocketed. You do have it.
My gosh.
How
Which
rude.
is rather impressive. I'm not even joking. The perception bonus for the headmistress is +10.
My gosh. All right. I know who to ask whenever I'm trying to pickpocket someone.
Yeah, that's the barbarian.
God. All right.
Yeah. On the topic, Natali is looking into the herbalism book fondly.
Roll nature.
All right. It's 14. God, these rolls.
You don't learn much else than what you've already learned, mostly on your travels and learning from trial and error, but you do learn a couple of ways of properly securing certain hides and scales from various different monsters, as well as their teeth, because some of them are so brittle. You do learn a little bit more. So this book would help you if you can manage to get any more out of it, but right now you're a bit too distracted by something else.
Right.
She looks around towards you and then just glances at Niminue, just like, could you come over here, please? I really would like to keep an eye on you.
I give an innocent grin, and I'm like, oh, I guess. And I walk close, but not too close.
As all of you gather in, she looks around at the four of you, seems to notice that one of you is missing and nods. And then she settles down a little bit, laces her fingers together, and smiles. My name is Headmistress Jocelyn, and I think you have quite a number of questions. And you, Miss Lithera, have to get quite caught up on what you've missed. And that's where we'll end.
Sounds good.
Ooh.
Huzzah.
I have just the gift to give to my blacksmith friend.
You've stolen